Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to see folks coming out on what's finally a seasonably cold day uh, in the Fredericksburg area, and we're delighted to once again be able to welcome Jan Williams for Deck the Halls. And every year we have a debate over exactly when it started and how many. I've brought an historical document that might help us. How is it? Well, here's the thing. This is a copy of a page. The Center for Historic Preservation at then Mary Washington College started doing a newsletter in 1982, October 1982, when somebody in here had already graduated and someone else was thinking about graduating. Um, and they put out this newsletter, and this is October of that year, and it said, this is one item. The popularity of last December's workshop on historic holiday decorations, food and drink, Christmas with all the trimmings, has prompted the center to make the program an annual event. And then they go on to talk about when it will be scheduled. So 1981 gives us the reference date for how long you've been doing this since that time. And that deserves applause right there. 43 years. 43. Yes. And you were the only, Deck the Halls is the only part of that that still endures. There were
Right.
some other things.
Well,
and
Walter Angel did a cooking segment in the afternoon, and he did that for maybe 3 or 4 years, and it got difficult because, cooking, you need so much to do that.
Yeah.
And, Walter was a lot older than I was. He's since died, but he was wonderful at it. But, yeah, it morphed, different, a little different, changed, of course, over the years. But, yeah, I didn't think I'd still be here at 43 years, but.
Well, we're looking forward to 43
Okay,
more. It'll be
okay.
fantastic.
I doubt that.
Really quickly before we jump into what you're all here for, I just want to acknowledge and thank Lindsay Crawford, our public programs coordinator.
Yes, hi, Lindsay.
And then Caitlin Rigalon and Heather Meadows and Jenna Colner are here. And Blake is our intern, our Bowley
Yes,
Scholar
yes.
intern, who looks like he's been helping Jan for years.
Yes.
He's just jumped right in. So we're really fortunate to be able to have a great team helping us pull this off. We want to remind you that next Thursday from 6 to 8 is the holiday open house at the James Grove Museum. I got that right? Yes?
8:30.
Oh, wow. Well, we're tearing it up. Extra half hour. So we do invite you to come by for that. And the holiday shopping opportunities in the museum store are just
Yeah,
numerous
they have a lot
and
of great
wonderful.
things.
So thank you again for being here. Is there anything I'm leaving out?
This museum shop will be 50% off that day, so keep that in mind for open
Ah,
house.
yes.
And we also have a museum store pop-up shop outside for any extra holiday gift giving you want to do today.
Right.
So, thank you.
So again, Jan, thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you.
Enjoy.
Hi, hello, everybody. Merry Christmas.
I'll be right over there, Jan.
It's quite a merry day in Fredericksburg, as you'll find out if you don't know. The Christmas parade's tonight. So, they're blocking off roads, and I heard the streets cleaners, I think that was about 7, carrying on outside, so they're getting ready. I'm going to start with a very traditional item that we see a lot. Of course, it supposedly goes back to Colonial Williamsburg. I don't know if that's really completely, totally true, but and of course, I've told you all before, as you probably remember, they used one of those wooden cones, and they eventually put spikes in it or nails or whatever, because they didn't have anything else to use. And they didn't decorate until a couple days before Christmas, and their houses were probably 40-some degrees. They didn't have the heat sources like we have. So it probably worked out well back then. But however, now, if you use one of them, and I've had people say, oh, the boxwood's falling off and it's all dried out, and I'm like, the best thing to do is give it away or throw it away or put it in the fireplace or something, because it's not going to hold up in these houses today. And this is much easier, I think, in the long run. And you can see what I did. I just sculpted the oasis to make a tree, and then I shape it the way I want it with the boxwood, the length of the stems of the boxwood. I kind of get the width and the height first, and it's not that hard to do. And I have to, you want to keep the body of it the same, So that's why I kind of do the height and the width, so I get that established. Instead of trying to do down here and then get up there, and then it's too fat here and too skinny there and too whatever. The same thing when I do the wreaths, as you know, as I work from the inside and the outside and in the middle, to control that size, because you cannot, control the size well any other way. I'm just going to green this up. It does not take that long, and I've had people do it working for me, and I have to show them how to do it because some people get it, too thick, and they use up so much boxwood that they don't need because it's just too thick. So, you've got to remember to keep the shape. And when I'm coming from here, I'm angling down for a while until I get here. Then I start coming out. Then I angle it down that way. So it looks like a tree. Okay, let's see, let me get this. Now, I break a lot with my hands. I'm just a terrible habit. Instead of using the clippers, and it's hard on your hands, and I shouldn't be doing it, but the damage is done. I'm having surgery on this hand the 3rd of January. Whew, I know. I went to Dr. Kusti a couple weeks ago, and he said, Jan, that right hand is bone on bone. How are you standing it? And I said, well, this is the first time I went, and he said, well, I can give you an anti-inflammatory. And I said, no, I can't take it because I had that anemia. He said, oh, no, forget that. Then he said, how about prednisone? I said, no, I can't take that either because I'm terribly allergic. Of course, that's the magic bullet for everything. And so then he said, well, we can give you a shot, but the radiologist has to do it. Well, when he said that, I didn't like that sound. And he said, no, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a humdinger. I said, how long do you think it'll last me? He said, maybe get you through Christmas because you're just so active with your hands. And I said, well, how soon can you operate on it? So he said, let me check. And he said, the 3rd. I said, well, we'll go for it. Because you can't have the surgery if you have the shot. You have to wait 3 months. And I said, no, I've got garden week. I've got all kinds of stuff. I got to get this over with. And he said, okay. Yeah. I said, I got to get I use those little salon paws. They have little ones. And arnica gel. And then Joan just told me about an Australian cream, so I'll get some of that too. He said, well, that's fine. You use that. It won't hurt you, internally. So I'll be, and then this fan's going to have it, but not as soon as this hand.
Did you decorate the National Cathedral yet?
I did Thanksgiving and helped take down Thanksgiving. I go there next week. No, week after next. We don't do it. We did Advent, and then we don't do the major until right before, the big stuff for the National Cathedral, which I love going to do the decorating. It's beautiful. It's hard on your legs because it's in your feet because it's all that stone, all those steps, and you got to be careful. So we've had people fall, get hurt, but it's wonderful.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those sections anchored together?
Yes, with picks. And I did that first. I took 2 of these dowels and put down through the top, and then I came through the sides here also. So these are stuck to it, and they're all stuck together. But I only used like 4 picks. I didn't use a ton of them. You don't want to put massive picks in it because then you would have trouble getting your boxwood in. Don't worry. I've got a box. We're going to put this in for somebody who wins it. And maybe if you've got somebody with you, they can hold on till you get it home. And my suggestion is to water it. Just take it into the sink or to a deep sink if you have a work sink. Set the whole container, everything down in the sink carefully and put the spigot over it and let it slowly drip into it. And you can also use a spray bottle, but, this oasis was really soaked, so the warmer your home is, the faster it'll dry out, of course.
And then leave the water in the bottom of the bowl after you...
Oh, yeah, that doesn't matter, But, if it's real hot, my house is not hot because I've always got stuff in it. I don't want it to, so my poor cat has to curl up to stay warm. She's probably like, oh, what is this?
Did your cat mess with your decoration?
No.
Oh, you're lucky.
She never, well, she's 14 now, Wilhelmina. She's a wonderful pet. She's just so sweet. But she doesn't bother anything. If they're younger, you know, when she was younger, she was a little more adventurous, you know. And some of them can be quite adventurous when they're young. I had one that was, Cleotis. He was something. Climbing the curtains. Well, I took him home to my mother because I had him in town and I'd walk him with a leash. And people would laugh, but I didn't want anything to happen to him. And mother said, bring him down here, because it was busy, it was holidays or whatever. You know, I don't like him being alone all the time. So I took him down there. Well, she called me up. That Cleotis, he climbed the drapes today in the family room. He was young, and then he did something else, and then she said she got scratched because she's playing with him. And then I said, well, I'll just come get him. Oh, no, you won't, you know. She said, he didn't mean to, you know. He's just a baby. I'm thinking, well, Mother, you're telling to me like he's getting on your nerves, and now you don't want me to do anything. Oh, my gosh. I'm turning around so you can see. See, it does not take 40 days and 40 nights. Don't be scared. Don't be hesitant. You only have yourself to please. I don't care if anybody else likes it or not. If you like it for your house and you're happy with it, that's all that matters. I think we have to get away from, I think that's one thing I learned, but when you turn 50, way past that, but you begin to realize, all that nonsense doesn't matter. It's what you like. If it makes you happy, if you pick a color and you think, oh, somebody says, oh, I don't really like that. Well, no, I guess you don't. I didn't pick it for you. You know, you don't buy into it anymore. You know, you got to be happy with it. And I think we worry too much about what somebody else thinks. Oh, do they think that looks good? Well, and then I think if you are positive, not be hesitant, what do you think? But if you go, oh, do you love it? I love it. Then they're probably not going to say too much, whether they like it or not, which is fine. I remember one time someone said they were working on something in their shop, and this little lady came in and she goes, ooh, I don't care for that at all. And it was for a customer. It was what the customer wanted. And he said, well, that's good because I didn't have you in mind. And I said, that's a good one to say. You just keep filling it in. Because everybody has different, taste and different things that they like and different things that make them happy. And, I like color. I love color. I do not like all white and gray. To me, it's just cold looking to me. But if you like it, fine. I just think you need a little pop of color here and there. And I like a lot of color, but... Oh my gosh. Well, that's the one thing I think it's very important to be mindful of, the architecture of a home. And you can do some of that, but mix it gently, But if it's a colonial home or a Victorian home and you severely try to make it ultra-modern, that's exactly what it looks like when you walk in. Ooh, they're fighting. It fights each other if it's not more cohesive.
Did you travel this year at all?
Not much because of, I was getting over my knee and the anemia. All those things had to come first. So I went to St. Louis to my niece. This is my great-nephew graduated from high school, and they had a big graduation party. And then I was telling Blake, the young man that was in here, he reminded me of my great-nephew who's the gymnast, who's a junior in high school. He's living in New Jersey because he trains in New Jersey, training for the Olympics. But he not only training for the Olympics, this child, we're all thinking, where in the world did he come from? He is a fabulous student. He wants to be a neurosurgeon. So when I was going out there for the birthday, he was home that week because he just finished nationals. And he said, Auntie, I've got an appointment at Washington University in St. Louis. And they asked me if was anyone coming with me. And I said, well, my mom and probably my auntie. And I said, yes, of course, Auntie will go with you. Oh, I was so impressed. Beautiful school and the campus. Oh, the landscaping. And the poor guy giving us the tour, he finally said, well, ma'am, I'm not a horticulture major. and I don't know if I'm answering your questions properly. But they had this fabulous oak tree called a kindred spirit. Has anyone ever seen that? You have? It grows in a conical shape, and it's, I think, probably a dwarf variety. It is gorgeous. They had one street just lined with them, and they were really, really dark green leaves and clustered acorns in it. And, oh, they were gorgeous. I said, oh. And I saw the tag on it, Kindred Spirit, because, of course, he didn't know the name. But and they did a lot of wilding. They had areas where they had done the wilding and the wildflowers on the hillsides. I think they're doing that here, trying to do that, yeah. Because, of course, England is heading the way on that, about no mow May, and they do no mow, trying to do no mow April here, but trying to encourage people because the butterflies and the moths and the insects that live in the ground come out in the spring and they eat. That's how they get their nourishment, from the grasses and the things that are coming out in the spring. And if they're all removed from them, then they don't have that. And, we need all those things that are good because it's all part of the ecosystem. And just like using Roundup and some of these poisons that are pretty strong. I had a girl that worked for me, and she had a master's degree in horticulture. And she'd worked part-time at Lowe's, and she got diagnosed with lymphoma. And the first question they asked her, was she ever around any of that? And she told her to quit, get out of there. Because, they sell it, and the vapors can seep from that. And so she did, and that's not the first person that's been told that I know that had lymphoma or type of cancers. And they know now, but they still sell it. And I'm not against Monsanto, but my brother-in-law was a federal corporate tax lawyer for him. And I remember he came home one day from work, and he always had on, of course, a suit and a starched, stiff shirt that could walk. And he came in the door that evening, and he had this ball cap on that said Lasso. And he never wore a ball cap, even that type. And I said, Bill, what's that? And he said, oh. And he had that courtroom voice. That is a 500% profit maker. Yeah, think about it, people. 500%. And I think, I know Roundup's quite a lucrative one also. And I said, oh my gosh, and that was years ago when I didn't have my own business. And then I'm thinking, here I was in small business, 33 years, struggling at the end of the year to pull down 10%, 12%, 15% at the most. Yes, and most small businesses, that's what they're after all the expenses, of course, are taken out, everything, struggle to do. Like my accountant said, I feel like crying. You work so hard. And these large corporations are pulling down 500, 600, 700%. That's not right. That's just not right. I'm going to turn this in. I'm putting a little bit of this green glow on it because it cleans it up. Sometimes it's nice and clean, but we've had a little rain, but we need more rain, of course, which helps everything, get greener and cleaner and everything. So I know you usually see this with apples or whatever. Well, I used to sell these in the shop, and I still had a thing of them, and I was going through my shed, and I kept smelling cloves, and I went, surely, these are not still smelling. They've been in that shed. Yeah, and you can smell it. And it came from a very good company that I bought from, which I was talking to Blake about that. I said, You know, not all florists are created equal, like a lot of things.
These smell really
And I tried to buy the best quality I could. And I still see people, one lady stopped me somewhere, she came to my car window and she said, "Aren't you Jan Williams?" And I said, "Yes." And I'm thinking, uh-oh. And she said, "Oh my gosh." And then I recognized her face. I couldn't remember her name, but I recognized the face. And she said, "I shopped in your store all the time and I just loved it." And she said, "I can't get good ribbon anywhere."
We can.
And I said, "No kidding. You know, no kidding." I said, "You would think it was a white rhinoceros in Fredericksburg." But the problem is, you know, you have to pay a little bit more for it. Not much more, because I've seen it in some of these knockoffs, and like TJ Maxx and places like that, they're selling some of it that's not that quality. And if you read, please read how much is on the roll. 18 feet is only, what, 5 yards of ribbon? Or even that, 6 yards, yeah. That's not a lot of ribbon, you know. So, you know, you've got to kind of do the math and see what works for you, because a nice big bow, you're not going to get even a big bow out of it. I just don't understand it. And I said to him, I said, well, like in all things, all florists aren't created equal either. Knowledge is one part that is lacking.
I felt that way with the wedding with the ribbon.
Yeah.
How many yards do you do in the average bow?
Well, we would try to measure things, you know, depending, because if you've got tails on a wreath, there's 2 yards right there. Boom. So we figure at least 8 to 10, depending on how big people want it, you know. And we'd make them to size to what we were making, because that's the other thing. You don't want an enormous bow on a little wreath, and you don't want a teeny tiny bow on a big wreath. And I was somewhere yesterday where the bows, it's one of our historic places. I don't know, the garden clubs make them. I don't know who did it, but oh my God. I had to fight myself. I was going to go home and make new ones and go over there, and because I'm president of the organization that owns that part of the cemetery, and I'm thinking, who in the world did it? A couple years ago, I did it. I think I'm going to tell them, look, just let me do it every year, because I can't take it. It looked
I
terrible.
was about to say, I hope it's not our museum.
No.
Town and Country did ours this year. It looks really good.
Yeah, I know, they've done a good job.
Except the squirrel keeps trying to eat the
Yeah,
pineapple.
squirrels will eat anything in it that they possibly can. See how I put that in there? You would not know this is not a real orange, would you? No.
They're all.
I'm going to use a few of these in here. I'll place them. And what I'm going to do is kind of tuck them and see if I have them where I want them. I'm using a hot glue gun. And I found a new glue gun. Where did I get this one? I don't know. I might have got it at Walmart by Gorilla Glue. And it is good. I do a big thing for a friend of mine every year for their employees and everything. And they're 19 big wreaths, all decorated. And I've been using this thing like crazy. It's never jammed. It's never, you know, yeah. And they have Gorilla glue sticks. So I got those to go with the Gorilla gun. And I've been very pleased, because I've used almost every kind there is. I think I bought it at Walmart. Pretty sure. Well, I looked at them and I saw Gorilla on it, and I went, well, they make good glue.
Do you even feel if you get burnt anymore?
Not too bad. I'm fast with it, you know, and I know how to move my hand out of the way quickly after years of getting burned. No, you could pick onto it, but I'm just gluing this stuff because it's faster. But you can't believe that they still,
It
I
smells
mean,
good.
I know. I'm gonna throw that to you, yeah, and you can, good catch, yeah. Now, my hand might be giving out, but my arm isn't yet.
You said you dried the other fruit. I have dried oranges from Florida.
Yes, yeah, you can dry them. Now, I let the fruit over here, the pomegranates just air dry, and the artichokes air dry.
We did an orange garland this year for our house.
Oh, wow, the smell. You can, dry orange slices in the oven, a real low temp. Yeah, it's not hard to do. And I put some rosemary at the top, because you're going to see what and I love this black watch plaid for something a little different.
Scotland.
Yes, a tribute to our Highland ancestry.
We're going to Scotland in April.
Oh, really? Oh, I love everything Scotland, Ireland, England. England's my favorite. I love England. If any of you watched, if you put it on on your phones, any phone, and Google Regent Street, London. Oh my gosh, it will just send chills. These gorgeous angels all the way across the street, just white lights of these angels. It's incredible. And then they start showing you different other places in London. It's gorgeous. They really go all out. Fortnum and Mason, all of them decorate to the hilt. The trees, the really, really lavish decorations. It's just spectacular.
Do you have any favorite gardens in Scotland or places?
I have favorites everywhere. There's one in Wales that I absolutely is gorgeous too, and I get the magazine, the RHS magazine every month, and it has different gardens in it. I don't know which is my favorite. Everyone has something else. All the RHS gardens are fabulous in England. Wisley, I love Wisley. That's where the Dahlia show is. See how I just put a little bit of, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just taking this ribbon, doing a little French cut.
Cutco scissors.
Yes, the only scissor to use with fabric. That's my motto. Of course, it's a killer when you lose them, but in the shop we lost quite a few pairs in the trash, I'm sure. You also get to a point in your life you realize some things just aren't worth stressing over. You just I couldn't get upset. Somebody said, well, you're not very upset. I said, been down this road a few times. I just can't get upset about the scissors. We'll just get more.
Tell you a story about the Swan in New York City.
Oh, no, that was here
Was that here at the
that I made.
yeah.
Oh, well, years ago, I think some of you heard about. I have a beautiful swan container that I love, but because I do love swans. And years ago, when Ross's had moved down the street, every year I try to come up with something original for the windows, because I said that the big front windows should be a gift to the community, like New York does their windows. So I wanted to make something original. I didn't want just merchandise in the window. So we had 2 other side windows. So I started making stuff. So this one year I thought, no, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Something really different. And I got the idea because I had been to market one year, and this was I don't know how many years before, and they had these gorgeous deer made out of twigs. But then I started looking at them. They had big clamps in them. I didn't like seeing the clamp. And they'd been dusted with a little bit of that shimmer stuff, the icy look, not glitter. And had big wreaths around their necks of berries. They were so pretty. So I went back, and they were very expensive. And I thought, I think I can make them look better, because I don't like those clips. So I sat out on a mission, and there's a roadside daisy called the New England daisy, and I call it Rosidia, but you see it everywhere in the fall. It has a twiggy stem to it, and it's kind of bushy. So I got some of those, and I got this stuff off of them, all the greens off of them, stripped them, and I said, these would be perfect. And you just take a bunch of them and just thicker and thicker and mounding them. So I showed to my delivery driver. I said, if you see these, take clippers, cut me down as much as you can. And one day he had to go up to Johnson's funeral home, and he came back, and that was years ago, and when I was working for Mr. Ross, and he pulls in, he comes in, Jan, so I come running out. He had practically a van full of them. So we lined them all up in the garage because they all had to be stripped. Nobody knew what I was making. So then I got all the wire, and I made the apertures, shapes for the deer. And then we applied it and tied it with wire. Then we sewed it with that upholstery brown ribbon. You couldn't tell. That worked out really well. See how I did that? Which I'll see that. So anyway, long story short, I started making different apertures. So I decided I was going to make swans, white and then one black swan. this middle window. We had a large piece in the middle, which was ductwork. It was, covered, of course, with sheetrock. It was white, and I always didn't like that either. So I thought, well, I'll cover that. And I thought, well, what am I going to cover it? Silver. I decided I was going to do silver, white, and black. So I thought, I had to think about it for a while. I said, I don't want red, little just pieces of red here and there. I put amaryllis, silk amaryllis, coming up out of the water. It was like a pond, and it was white, and it had twigs, white twig trees everywhere. And the swans were, of course, on the ice part. And I made 2 white swans and 1 black swan, and I made them life-size. So I made the apertures, and then I got Spanish moss and different kinds of mosses that I sprayed, and then heather, fresh heather, which has been scarce the last few years because of the fires in California. Heather likes cold weather, so they grew them up in Northern California. And all those fires got rid of a lot of that. So they've been replanting and getting it back. But I had 2 different types of heather. One's are more plumy, and one's a little shorter and thicker. And for their breast feathers, I had the shorter, thicker, and then for the plumy, I had the tails. And I sprayed it, of course, white or black, after I got the bodies all done. Then I did berry wreaths around their necks with really beautiful milliner's quality velvet ribbon. So I had one of them out drying. The other 2 I was finishing. And it was the night before our Christmas open house. And I go out to get the 3rd swan, and he's gone. This is like 11 o'clock at night. And I come back in there, and Mr. Ross had gone home. And I'm going, I thought his son was pulling a joke on me, because they love to tease me. And I said, tell me where it is. What are you talking about? I said, my white swan is missing. I didn't take it. I said, tell me the truth. I know you did. Stop that. Kept saying, no, he didn't take it. Finally, I was really getting angry. So I said, okay, I'm going to call the police right now. So I go to the phone. He's watching me and I dial the police. They answer, and I tell them what's going on. I call the non-emergency number. And I tell them that I had something stolen. And they asked me our location, and I told them. They said they'd send somebody right over. So I get off the phone, thinking, he's going to say, I did it. I'm call him right back. No, he didn't do it. So here comes a police officer, a young police officer, so nice, came up the alley, because there was a loading dock in the back, and that's where the swan had been drying. And he's really serious, very nice. Of course, I don't have time to make another one by tomorrow morning. And I was so upset. And the policeman says, so he's asking me what it was, and I told him. I said, it was sitting right here on this box. You see the spray paint? And he's going, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. He's like, and I said, come, I'll show you what the others look like. And we went in, he saw them. He said, oh, they're beautiful. And I said, thank you. And we came back out, and he said, well, about what was the last time it was seen? Well, 2 of them were out there with me, and they started laughing. Well, I got mad, and I go, laugh, just laugh, why don't you? You can make another one by tomorrow morning. The poor police officer, he's trying to be so serious. And he said, and what value? Value? You can't put a value on this. I'm sure he was like, oh, Lord, she is a nut. But so, needless to say, we never found it. Oh, no. We found some parts of it at the end of the alley, some moss or something. But we don't know. It was probably some drunk, and who knows what he thought it was. We can't imagine why anybody else would want it, Oh, I was so upset. Oh, that was...
People steal our otter in front of our museum.
Oh, I know.
Twice now.
Yeah, I know. I had iron urns, cast iron urns on little pedestals on either side of my front door. And I heard a commotion one night, and I thought, and a couple times I'd run downstairs and they moved something, but they didn't take it. Well, this night they took one of the urns, but you lift it up and the pedestal stayed there. They tried to take the other one too, but they're cast iron. They're heavy, and they had stuff in them. One of them they left on the driveway, and the other one they took. So I went driving around town looking to see if I saw it left anywhere, and it was at about 1:30 in the morning, the bars close. And I don't want to choose college students, but they come down the street, and I can hear them, walking. And but I couldn't imagine why they'd want it. But I did see a cement pineapple at the little is it Taco, what's it called down the street from me, by Merriman's? Yes, it's about this tall, it's still there, and a customer that bought 2 of them had them by their building up the street, and that, one of those had disappeared. Now, how they carried it that far, I have no idea, because they weigh a ton. I noticed it must have left it there, and they probably didn't know where it went. So, you know,
Found one thing.
yeah, but so I looked around there thinking maybe they left it because it was so heavy, you know, it's just carrying on. I'm gonna put a couple little feathers up here on the top,
Where'd you find those?
and a turkey's tail. Somebody brought them to me.
I bet people are mad.
I didn't have to extract them.
Okay.
They were already, you know. Although years ago we were somewhere they had peacocks, and I was just a kid, and I was into all this stuff then, and I'm following the peacock around, and my sister goes, Daddy, she's trying to get the feather out of that peacock's tail. And I was. Of course, peacocks can get mad. Daddy's like, you better, you know, that peacock's not going to put up with you. I probably was maybe 7 or 8 years old, but I was chasing after him. I didn't realize that they shedded them. I was too young. I thought they just dropped out. You know, if I pulled onto it, it would just come out. No. Yeah, yeah. But that peacock was not happy.
So you tried.
Yeah, I tried. And he squawked something, he or her. I guess it's a he, I guess. The more colorful one. But shoo, my father's, you can't do that. So people knew that I liked them. They'd bring me feathers. And the hunters, friends I had, the hunters, they'd bring me feathers. They'd bring me the whole tail, the turkey. Yeah. I'd have to let it dry and put it somewhere.
You have hunters and gatherers for you.
Yeah. I preferred when they brought me just the feathers, but not the whole fan. But I guess they thought maybe I wanted it like that. I don't know what they were thinking. I just can't get over these little oranges. I have to hold it for a minute.
Do you mean hold one while it's dry?
It's drying, but see, I think, yeah, okay. It's just much faster this way. There's little lemons in here.
Smell good.
There's some little lemons in here too. They've been in a shed. They've been through heat, you know, the hot summer. And they look at them. You buy good. My parents were big believers. You get what you pay for, and they raised me that way. I remember I wanted a Harris tweed coat when I was about 15. I think I was into nice when I was young, and and I knew it came from, you know, Scotland. So I said, Daddy, I really want a Harris tweed coat. My mother said, well, we have to think about it. We'll see. So I got this Harris tweed coat. Oh, it was a pretty coat. But then I wanted a certain shoe to go with it. But we found that too. My daddy, he was patient. He had 4 girls. Whew. But he liked nice clothes, and he didn't care. And his favorite color was blue. So if we wanted something, I saw something I liked blue, I knew. No trouble. Wasn't going to even have to beg.
That was your favorite color.
Yeah, he loved blues. Bless his heart.
Did he like Christmas too?
Oh yeah, he did. And he helped me with projects, but I was 27 when he died.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he never got to come to this. My mother used to come. And that's why I could tell when I thought it started, because he wasn't here anymore. And then Southern Living did those articles. I think the photo shoots were in '86, I believe, because it took a year for the magazine came out in the fall of '87, and then the book came out in '88. Because I kept saying, when's the book coming? Because I couldn't wait to see the book, called Holiday Homes, which is a gorgeous book. I'll turn this so you can see it. I just think it's a little different take, but I like it. because I get tired of the same thing too much. But you could use fresh, but they're heavy, and they don't hold. They're not going to last in a house. Either they could mold or start smelling orangey. Now, whether you could find any of this fruit anymore, not here, but somewhere where they sell nice stuff. I mean, I've tried to tell people, buy nicer quality. People, you go to Walmart and places and fix some things up, but, they just don't, they're not things that'll hold up. And I try to reinvent them. If sometimes I'll find something there I can reinvent, but so it doesn't look so Walmart-y. Wally World. But I give it to the Waltons. They are philanthropists. Yeah. And I give it to Michael Bloomberg. When he ran in politics, he paid for everything himself. He said a billionaire has no business asking people for money. Mm-hmm. Amen. Mm-hmm. And he also endowed that medical school in Baltimore, Hopkins, paying all their tuitions. He just came out with this other big education program. I tell my brother-in-law and I got in an argument one day about that subject, and I said, just look it up. All these billionaires, you can look it up. See who the philanthropists are. And we know some that if they were philanthropists, they'd be bragging about it so much we'd all know. So kind of obvious, They have all the money they supposedly have, but they're not giving any of it away.
I need them to start building more libraries and museums again.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice?
During that time.
Well,
And parks.
yeah, the parks. Oh my gosh. I was just telling Blake about Hyde Park, New York, and Springwood, Roosevelt's home. Oh, the most impressive. I mean, he ranks up there with me going to the White House and meeting the president. That's how impressive that place is. And the Park Services, the job they do there, the passion they have for it, the story they tell, it's absolutely incredible. And all these young people need to go there because you go into that museum Presidential Museum, and they have the reels from the Depression is how it starts. Because Roosevelt became president during that Great Depression. And you see people in food lines that look like the clothes are hanging on a hanger. They're that thin. We need to remember, where we've come from. And I think, my parents were World War II. So we heard about it and were told about it and understood it. My father was in World War II. My uncles were in World War II. My grandparents were both World War I. That has gone, practically. But the dangers haven't gone. So, these are Nandina, and I'm just tucking them in here. When I use Nandina, I'm careful with it, but if you don't disturb it too much, it kind of dries like this. It doesn't, fall all over the place if you just leave it sitting there. So whoever wins this, just give it a little water once in a while. And I'm not talking, you don't need to water it for at least a week to 10 days, unless your house is very hot. If the house is too warm at night, if you think of it, just sit it in a cool place, in the garage or something. Get a good place to put it. Don't put it outside because the squirrels will probably try to peck these oranges or pull them out. They'll play with them. But the birds will get it too. The birds like the berries. They'll find out they can't eat these oranges, but it doesn't mean they may not try. Now, I just get all my pumpkins and stuff. I put those out for them to eat. They love them. And the squirrels, of course, I was surprised they didn't eat all the seeds. And so last year, I remember Heather, we had some white pumpkins, and we had them over at her house too, decorating. And so we just left them out for them to eat. Well, the next summer, I saw these vines coming up. I said, these are pumpkin vines. I don't want anybody to pull them. So we didn't. I got 7 white pumpkins off those vines because I kept looking and checking. And Jason came home one day and said, where'd you get those pumpkins? I said, off the vines. I kept looking in them and seeing them down in there and letting them grow. See how much, he said something about, uh-oh, we're going to have a pumpkin farm.
Squirrel said thank you.
Yeah, competition. I said, I don't think we'll get that many pumpkins. Just tuck that in. But so you can put a few of the little berries in. And there you have a little different take on the
I'm gonna go get the
Williamsburg tree. Now, I have a box for it. Lindsay, this box over here, I'll tell you about it, has some wrapping in it, and put it under the table, under it, so that they'll have a box to take it home. I'm trying to help y'all out here. I'm gonna do a wreath next. Now, this is a straw wreath frame. Are you gonna pull now?
Yeah, we pull as we go.
Oh, okay. You can tell them?
Huh?
You're not gonna tell them, are you?
What?
We usually do it at the end.
We usually do them as we go.
No, we don't.
We don't?
No, we do them at the
Okay, we
end.
can do the end, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Don't we always do the end? Yeah.
Okay,
I thought I remembered.
I'm sorry, y'all.
I got a good memory, girl.
All these programming.
No, I know. Everybody knows what this is now, a straw wreath frame. But in Fredericksburg, it might as well be a white rhinoceros. I'm serious. I looked online, I ran out to Hobby Lobby. They were this around, just strawberry wreath. They weren't very big, but the frame was this round. I'm thinking, what are they putting in that? You know? So they're really hard to find. I used to sell them, but nobody else probably knows what they are. But they hold boxwood and greenery really well. And, you know, I prefer hand-picked wreaths. I know they take a while, but they look better and they last a lot longer. And I went out to Wegmans, which I love Wegmans, the week after Halloween. And there was all these fresh mixed garlands and all this fresh stuff. And it was hot, probably 72 degrees or something. And I thought, well, these are going to be dead on a doornail. I was right again. That whole vat of garlands, I think they had to trash. I hope they look at the dates this year and don't bring them in, because this is not upstate New York, you know. But they even had some warm weather too. So, you know, it's just too hot. And that's why, and somebody was saying something about decorating. I said, well, you know, when we were kids, my mother, we didn't put our tree up until maybe 10 days before Christmas or 8 days before Christmas. It wasn't weeks ahead. Of course, she kept it up until the Epiphany, but it was fresh. We always had a fresh tree. And I guess they probably did the door and that stuff about the same time. And when I got out of school, when I was in elementary, then I would work on decorating the house, because I loved to do it even then. And so that was only, 5-6 days before Christmas, I guess. And everything held up fine, because it wasn't 6 weeks ahead of time to be fresh. I have to get them from a wholesaler, because I can't get them anywhere else. Can't find them to buy. You just can't do it. And they've had a little trouble. The supply is better, but the hold on to your seats. These are made in Mexico. So this wreath retail frame would be about $7.95 this year. If there's big tariffs put on them, you will be paying more. Because, I mean, the shipping on them alone, I don't know how they do it for that price, because they got to ship all that stuff here. But I think now the company only does, delivers an order once a year, so they have to get a whole pile of them once a year. And more people just don't use them. We use them at the cathedral, and I use them, and I know there's a lot of people who still do, thank goodness, but
So if somebody gets that, they can use it next year, right?
yes. The only thing you have to do, if you have a really wet season, when you take them down, they're real heavy, you can feel the straw is very wet, put it somewhere where it can dry out. Do not put it in plastic bags, because it'll mold. You know, let it dry out good, and then Well, if you can't find rolls of this wrap, I just take garbage bags, those dark green garbage bags, and cut them and wrap them with that. Same thing. Ends up the same way, so it doesn't matter. Now, I always do the end. I've got a hanger on it first. Remember, girls? Hanger, hanger, hanger. I lay it down because I want it to be three-dimensional. And then I do the inner circle, all the inner circle. And I do this to control the size. And I made those, I jab it before, all around, to loosen the, it's made with these, the straw is bundled, and they have these kind of nylon-y strings that are wrapping it, and they're very tight. So you have to just loosen it so you can insert it better. And I also have fern pins here, which I'll show you, the greening pins. Well, that's another thing hard to find. I used to sell them, but I don't get on. I just don't understand it. But pardon? No, not unless I want moss in it to show. But I don't moss wreaths. I have one dear friend that always has fresh boxwood on their house, and I made those. They were big ones. We hung them last Saturday because it's going to be so cold. I saw the weather, and I knew it would be fine. And I make them really thick, and that way they hold up so well. But finding anybody that'll hand pick them isn't easy, because it takes a little more time. But I made all, I think 9 of those, or 8 of them in one day. And that wasn't just doing that. I had stuff to do in between. And I get the inner circle. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You probably know now. I know some of you have made these wreaths because people bring pictures and show me. And I'm so proud of you. Because that's why I'm here. I want you all to learn how to do some of these things. And you're not going to do them as fast as I am, because I've been doing them for 60 years at least, or more than that probably now. So yeah, as anything, practice makes perfect and makes you faster. There's the inner circle. I keep knocking this thing out. And then, who can tell me, what step do I do next? Yes, outer circle. And why? Pardon? Control the shape, exactly. Size and shape. Because if you do one piece over here and then you do a piece over there, then you're constantly having to hold it up and try to keep it even. You don't want to do that. It takes more time. And I've been to places where people say, look what happened. I said, well, did you do this? They said, yeah, that's what I did. And I said, well, that's why, because you couldn't control the size. But whoever showed them didn't show them this way, so. And if you're making them to go on multiples for one house, on windows or something that's going to be obvious, you don't want all different size wreaths. That isn't going to look very nice. Then you'll get criticized. Then you say, well, next year you make them. And this will insert in. My hand's a little resistant, but it's just not as strong as it used to be.
How are they gonna fix that bone on bone?
He's going to go in there and do similar to what they did to my knee. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Somebody said, well, did you find... I said, no. I know Dr. Acousti very well. I trust him. I don't tell him how to do his job. I couldn't tell you what it... it's something, orthoscopy or something, I forget what they call it. And I said, I didn't appreciate people coming in and telling me how to do my job. The first thing out of their mouth is, I don't know anything about this, but, I'm going to tell you how I think you ought to do it. I mean, you're sitting there thinking, you got to be kidding here. So no, I go to people I trust. If I didn't trust them, I wouldn't have gone to them. You know, that's why I wonder, if you don't trust me, don't come. Because you get to that point, you realize, if you know so much, make it yourself. Operate on your own hand, I mean, really, some of the stuff they have to put up with, I wonder, come on. And he's wonderful. I love him. He lives up the street from me. He sees me run around all the time. That's what he said. He said, "Oh yeah, I know you. You got to get out in that yard." I said, "Yeah, you're right." Pardon?
Are you glad the construction is mostly done near your house?
Oh yeah, across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. Oh, if you haven't been in it, the hotel's gorgeous. They did a beautiful job. And then you had people complaining about that. And I said, well, let me put it to you this way. Pella windows, is that a hint? There's nothing in these buildings cheap. They did a beautiful job with them. Top of the line. I'd rather have that than something inferior. So, we're happy. I mean, we were fine with it. I knew it would be quality because I knew who was doing it. And they're going to redo that parking completely. They're going to put up beautiful wrought iron fencing, and because it's going to have they're letting everybody park there now, but it will have an entry thing on it because they'll have to. But they're getting, it takes a while to get everything going. Somebody said something to me, and I said, oh, I don't want to talk about that, but a neighbor, not my neighbor next door, but was complaining because they built a thing for the dumpster on the far end of the lot when they were just trying to get opened. And it was mainly cardboard. I saw it. It was cardboard because they had tons of cardboard. All its furniture, everything shipped with, cardboard. And they were trying to corral it, and they had pickup, I think, every other day on it, and started complaining about it, and da-da-da-da. And I said, well, the lot belongs to them. Oh, no, it doesn't. It belongs to the city. And I said, don't think so. Of course, I was right. It does not belong to the city. They've been gracious to let people park there. And I'm sure it'll be filled tonight because they told us they don't have any plans for it for 3 years, that lot. So, because I think everybody's tired. And there's a lot of investment. That hotel and that condo or whatever it is, apartment building, big investment. Pardon? I mean, I heard $70 million. Yeah. I think it was from a reliable source. So there's a lot of investment so they're getting, trying to get everything together. They were putting a great big artificial tree over there last night. I saw these young guys working on it. It was so cold.
The new tree in Hurricane Park is really nice.
Yeah, I saw that too. This is huge, and they were constructing it out there in the cold. One of them was on the roof, I guess, getting all the electrical hooked up. Because I'm sure they wanted it to be up for the parade tonight. Which you won't see me at. Too cold. My favorite part of it is the bands. They're wonderful, but it's just so hot, cold out. We used to do it, but all my little nieces and nephews grew up, and now all their little ones are growing up. So we don't have any little ones. Don't like it. But I was telling Blake, the one that's the gymnast, is still going strong, training in New Jersey. His parents live in St. Louis. And you also learn about, when you're involved with that, you do learn about what these parents go through to get these kids to these levels. Whew. It's quite a financial commitment because they don't get any help until they get to the senior level at all. So you're paying coaching, time in gyms, competition. He's been all over the world in competition. The child's been a lot more places than I've been. You know, Portugal, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, England. I can't remember all of them. All over the place, constantly. A couple times in South America, Argentina, Colombia, competing. And people say, the parents had to pay for that? I said, yeah, they had to pay their plane tickets, their everything. I think they do get those uniforms provided at that junior level, but that's about it. There you go. See, and now you go for the middle. Make sure that I've laid that there. That's why it's bouncing. And if you see something you still need to get tighter, you can do that. But this is the fastest method to use. But anyway, he's a great student too. He wants to be a neurosurgeon, and he's on it. Sometimes I worry. He's so serious about everything. And of course, he's in the gym 3 hours every day, and then all the studying, and he wants to make straight A's. Yeah, he's a junior in high school, and he's already been a bunch of schools. I know. He's taking a couple of college courses from Princeton, advanced physics and something in calculus, and I'm like, oh my God, you know. I said, I worry because he's and he applies himself that way to everything. So the gymnastics, everything. But he'll always say, now, Auntie, you have to have a plan. I said, okay. I said, okay, honey. I mean, he's not kidding. He'll tell you his whole plan. I said, well, Auntie may live to see you get out of medical school, but internship, residency, I don't know. That's a long one. I don't know. Auntie will try to hang in, but
Are any of your family members interested in gardening with you and stuff? Or?
not yet. I'm trying. None of them have shown it as a child like I did yet, you know. And the ones in St. Louis, their grandfather's a big gardener, and his mother was a big gardener. She was French, and she taught him a lot. So I'm hoping that it'll come in some genes here somewhere. And as they get older, some people don't get onto that until they do get older. I mean, I had a dear friend in elementary school and high school, and her father was a fabulous gardener. That's who taught me a lot of things. She didn't care a thing about it. You know, he had a greenhouse he built, and he grew gorgeous mums, and he was a physicist at Dahlgren. And I'd follow him around, help him learn stuff. He had a pomegranate tree, and he protected it every winter. And that's when I started loving pomegranates. And years later, I mean, maybe 15 years ago, I was in a grocery store and I had a couple pomegranates, and the boy checking me out goes, "What's this?" Now they're a lot more common, I think, or prevalent. I said, "Well, that's a fruit. It's really good for you." I said, "It's got little teeny seeds, and it's not like a fleshy fruit." So hold that up just so you can see how I'm doing it. This stuff is trying to pick it off. Pardon? This, you could mist it. It depends on, we're supposed to have a lot of rain Wednesday. So if they're out in the rain, no problem. If it snows on them, no problem. You know, a couple years ago, the last time we really had a snow, that one right after New Year's, I still had all my stuff up because I think it happened on the 3rd or something. It was early, and it looked so pretty. Oh, the snow hanging off of it. But I like it to stay up until at least the Epiphany. I'm not one of these that the next day I'm decorating for Easter or Valentine's, where you can, oh, Lord, have mercy. I mean, to me, we're rushing our lives away. Why? We got to rush from one thing to the other, can't enjoy it. I mean, it really kills me when I see people take it down the day after. Thinking, is Christmas over? It just began. Because when we were kids, that Christmas holiday, when we were out of school, it was Christmas the whole time. But of course, those days were different. The olden days, as the kids call it. Almost done. This takes so much time. When Charlie could help me, his mother's 96, and she's at home. They take care of her like a queen. I've never seen anything like it. They're wonderful. And so that's why Charlie can't come, because he's got Mama, taking care of Mama. Yeah, I'll tell you which ones I want, and then see if it won't go in, just jab it, and it'll.
Get some anger out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a great release. I'm going to do this with these aquas and silvers and golds. Now, the one thing is important, and sometimes it doesn't matter, but, if you see much more colors indoors now and in houses because of the different colors that people have in siding and stuff is so different now, and stone and all the different ones. So I kind of just, my little house is red, so I'm kind of, but I like it. So we thought about painting it, and we both, no, everybody calls it the Little Red House now. So, no, so we're going to be the Little Red House forever. And when it's small, if you painted a color that's heavier, it looks a little bigger, and it's a little more noticeable. It's little. Almost done here. I'll show you. These just take so long. I'll see where my hanger is. There it is. Okay. I'm just going to throw some of this in the floor because it's in my way. I'm going to show you something. Ow. Just got that in my face. See, now it's dropping down. I bought this. I found this at Lidl for $9.95, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do to it. And not next. This won't be next, but it's going to be so easy. I looked at it and I thought, I could doctor that up so fast for $9.95. Keep your eyes open. Sometimes you can find stuff, and if it's not the best quality, who cares? You can throw it away for $9.95. It's not a huge investment. God, this stuff is.
You need to break anything for you?
Yeah, it's hard. I know. The type I need is. Some of it's shaping right, and some of it isn't.
Like that?
Yeah, these need to be pruned. Because they're big, I can tell. I have a friend who has tons of them, American boxwood, and I just go over and you never, ever let someone shave them. Oh,
Oh, no.
oh my gosh, that drives me nuts.
They did it to our museum. I about had a heart
Oh
attack.
no. If they don't, that's the first sign that they do not know what to do with boxwood. They say they do, and when you see that happen, stop them immediately. Because my dear friend, Miss Fraggleton, who used to come to this for years, she was secretary of the National Boxwood Society, an expert on boxwood, and Paul Saunders. Dr. Saunders, the dentist, used to be here, his daughter and himself. His brother was called Mr. Boxwood. I think Paul died last year. And you don't ever do that. You go in and you aerate them because they get thick, and that's how they get sick. Get spider mite and different stuff in them because they're so compact and they need air. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of this. Let me see if I find my hanger. Just so
You want this gone?
yeah, you can clean up that stuff. This is a blueberried cedar. It looks a little like juniper, but juniper has a much bigger berry. But I love it. Last year there was a lot of berries. I haven't seen that many this year, but they definitely found me some up here. They always, the old wives' tale is that if there's a lot of berries, there's going to be a lot of snow. Well, last year there were tons of berries. So I guess that isn't true anymore either because global warming's fooled them. But of course, that's not a real thing. We're just imagining all these weather phenomenons. I'm not kidding. I had someone say to me the day before that second hurricane, after the hurricane hit Asheville, and that next one was coming for Florida, and some of the same areas that had been before. And I was worried to death about those people. And a friend of mine came by and I said, I'm just so worried. I hope it doesn't hit them. Oh, it's not going to hit them. I said, it didn't? They just showed us the thing going right for them. And, oh, no. I said, well, it's the weather, the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are still way up for this time of year. Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with it. And I'm thinking, it doesn't? Oh, well.
I told them to wait to pick because of the freshness.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because if it's bagged for too long, those bags, and it's warm, they get dry. That's one good thing about the cold weather. This cold, you don't need to worry. This stuff isn't going anywhere. It'll stay fresh. I'll hold it up so you can see it. I love this berry. Even though it's, that bluish gray, it just gives it a texture that's so pretty. And in England, they use a lot of these berried cedars and the the ivy when it gets the berries on it. They love that too. Of course, they like to see it growing like I do, all up thing. I know it can be a beast, but I love it.
You snap these like it's nothing. I'm out. Like,
This old lady's showing you up.
I know.
This old lady's been doing it forever. See how you can see those berries? It is really pretty. Okay, now, where's that thing? I'm going to make a bow. Everybody tenses up when I say that. And of course, I've made a lot of bows, so I can do it fast.
You need this back on the floor.
Wouldn't that be beautiful? What, honey? Yeah, you can put that on the floor. Lindsay's trying to keep me clean up here. I'll put a little bit of green glow on it to clean up the boxwood a little. Okay. Now, what do? I never do this, do I? No. Because number one, you're trying to hold on to this little piece of ribbon. You want some, if you want a nice streamer, you start with a streamer. And this is thick ribbon because it's double-sided. So, if you're not used to holding it, don't get excited if little cramps go up your arm. It's not a heart attack.
That would be me.
Because it does scare you when you're not used to it. I remember when I first started working, and after making bows all day, and Mr. Ross laughed and said, "You're going to survive." That's what it is, because you get this pinching in here, and you have to really be strong. And this ribbon, you have to twist it because it's got the backing on it, but I twist them always, as you know, pinch and twist. And I'm going to mix some other ribbons in with it. I had a lot when I closed, and I got some from them that next year. And next year, I know the company pretty well, and I've just got like a supply of them. But I'm toying, and I'm just saying toying, with an idea for next year. If I do it, you'll hear about it. It just depends on that I'm doing fine.
I don't know the way you're snapping those branches.
I am. It's hurting, but I'm doing it.
Gotta know your workout routine.
That's what he said. He said, I don't know how you're doing it, because I can't imagine how that hurts. I said, oh, well, I told him, I just keep on going and try not to think about it till at night when I can't sleep because it hurts. See, and I'm building it up with the different kinds of ribbon. When I finish this, I'm going to show you what technique not to use. It's what I've seen on some things, and it looked horrible.
What about the elderly couple that you met from England?
Yes, he died. My pug died. I know, it broke my heart, but Kit Kat's still living. I'm hoping to get to see her soon. Yeah, she's 94, I think. Yeah, they were wonderful. We had the best time of my life. Oh, God, with them. I just loved them. I was telling somebody yesterday, I guess it was my niece in St. Louis. She and one of her girlfriends went out for the Disney Christmas opening. She's been to Disney World probably 15 times, Disneyland a couple times. She's one of those Disney nuts. And she was telling me all about it. I said, well, honey, I'm glad, because I guess she's 40-something, early 40s. Don't put it off. I was 62 the first time I got to go to England. Wanted to go my whole life, and never got to go because of work. Couldn't leave the business. And, it's hard, when you get older, the traveling is harder. And when I go to England, I walk a lot, like 10, 12, 15 miles a day before you know it, which is wonderful. That's why the English, they're all walking everywhere. It's so healthy for you. But I haven't been, it'll be 2 years coming up, but I'm heading there as soon as possible. If I could move there, I probably would.
We'll fly you back for Deck the Hall.
Yeah.
All paid expense.
It's just... Because I saw a couple yesterday in the grocery store, an older couple. Well, maybe not too much older, probably not that much older than me. It's hard to tell. And they were looking at some fruit, and, some of it has that waxy coating on it. So we were telling them there's a spray that you can get to get that off. And I said, it's so crazy because we do have a good Food and Drug Administration. We really do. And ours is very strict, just like our restrictions on bringing in things from overseas. A very strict country to protect us from the industry from diseases traveling. That's how you have to do it. But we allow a lot of chemicals and things that I don't understand. You buy some of these PETA things. I don't buy them because of that. Those wraps, put them in the refrigerator. 6 months later,
They're still there.
yes. Then if you read the fine print, I don't think they're really that healthy.
Yeah, we make homemade bread, and I didn't realize how fast homemade bread goes.
Right,
versus
exactly.
store-bought bread.
Yeah, exactly. It's much healthier for you. But, these things that you read the contents and you can't even pronounce it, don't buy it. That's all I can say, It sounds like a foreign language. Then you go someplace like England, and they're prohibited that kind of that stuff. But, of course, people there still shop their groceries almost every day, and they don't have most people don't have huge refrigeration. They don't have, like we do. They consider our refrigerators huge because the electric is so expensive, I guess, over there. They just don't have that. And I was telling them about, there's a Hershey plant in England, and if you buy a Hershey bar in England, you bring it home, turn it over. It's quite an eye-opener. And look at the sugar content. It's much less than the sugar content here per ounce or gram or whatever it's measured in, because they're restricted over there by how much they can put in that per gram or per ounce. And you can't tell the difference. See, and I'm thinking, why do we do that? And my answer from someone who probably knew what they were talking about, sugar lobby. I said, the sugar lobby, lobbyists, in the long run, wouldn't it cost this country a whole lot less than diabetes and other things that it causes? So I don't know why we. Okay, we definitely need to address that sugar problem, but
Pipe cleaner?
I got it. And I'm tying it off, and it's a lot of ribbon, so I've got to hold it really tight, really tight. And one of y'all are going to get to take it home. I don't know which one yet, but I got to make sure I get that exactly centered. I see it now. I just make sure I got it on the center. And then get your two pieces and make sure you get it around there tightly, because if it's windy or something, you don't want to see your bow go down, rolling down the street, and you chasing after it, and maybe getting hit by a car because they don't stop at stop signs or stoplights, so people probably don't matter either. I saw one yesterday right on the corner of William and Kenmore Avenue. Was it Kenmore Avenue? Yeah, at I think it was Kenmore, not Little Page. It was Mr. Merriman's. That light was on my tire light, and I figured it was probably just the cold, but it wouldn't go off. So I went over. They know me well. Here she comes. They're probably saying, "Uh-oh," and they checked all the tires. I do not check tires because I blew the tire off the car one time, putting air in it, and lived to tell the story. The guys came running out of the station, and I'm standing there, where did my tire go? And they're like, oh my gosh, you could have been hurt seriously. They were just stunned. I was too. That's why So after that, I do not put air in tires. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we're going to jazz it up a little. Where's my glue gun? I'm hurrying. What time is it, Lindsay? I got to hurry.
11.
Oh, okay.
An hour and a half.
Okay, I can whip the other stuff out. This takes the longest. But I always got to make one wreath by hand, even though I know it takes the longest. I can make this other stuff fast. I know. At the cathedral, they give me assignments by myself because they know I don't need help. Well, really, I don't want to take a person that somebody else can use. Plus, I'm fast, and I'm too fast for a lot of them, so she'll give me the thing, say, Jan, you go take care of that, and I'll go take care of it. And I'm trying to get on the road coming home by a certain time because, oh my gosh, that's the worst part. I told them if I lived up there, I could come even more, but the fight in the road. And one day, the dean of the cathedral, who's the nicest man, Randy Hollerith, who's up there talking to us about something, I don't know what we were decorating for. It might have been Colin Powell's funeral because we had a lot of carrying on up there with all the Secret Service and military people up there with us, telling us what had to be where and why. And the director, Linda, introduced me to him, and she said, Jan comes from Fredericksburg. He said, what? And I said, yes. And he said, he used to be at St. Stephen's in Richmond for a long time as their rector. And he said, oh my gosh. He said, back when I had to travel up here for meetings and things, it was terrible. But today, whew, he said, thank you so much. And I said, well, I love coming. It's just getting here. He said, yeah. Well, I don't care how long it takes to get home, really, because I won't be late for anything, except Wilhelmina's schedule. Yeah. So I just take my time. Anyway, I get over in that lane away from them and let them just keep on going. You know, the ones that don't signal and dodge in and out in front of tractor trailers and everything else that can't stop on a dime. I mean, I'm like,
I live in Manassas.
I know, so you see it every day.
I took the back road.
Oh, I don't blame you. And then some of them have started getting on that, emergency lane and driving like 60 miles an hour on the emergency lane because they're mad because the cops, and if anybody pulled over for emergency or emergency vehicle, so now they've been trying to catch them. Good, is all I can say. I believe in law and order, laws, and I believe in that they apply to all of us, and, come on, people. Yield signs, stop signs, now if I'm at a light, I do not go immediately. Hope you all don't either. No, me either. And if they honk behind me, too bad. I'd rather they be alive to honk again. Come on. It just, here, if you cut these off for me. It's just ridiculous, but you got to be careful.
These are heavy scissors.
Yeah, those are Cutco. She said, these are heavy scissors. I said, yeah, they're Cutco steel. That's why they cut this good ribbon. They're good.
These are pretty. Where'd you get these?
I don't even remember. I look, anywhere I go, I look and see if I see any unusual color ornaments or something I like the look of, and then I'll buy it or not.
Trash?
Yes, unless there's any left. Then they roll. They have minds of their own. See this, and it's so amazing to me because this glue is really hot. I've been doing this for years on these thin ornaments and doesn't break them.
Are you done with this?
Now it'll go pop because I said that.
Don't say that.
And I know. Monday I was really way ahead of myself with my schedule this week. I had so much to do. I was running around like crazy, and a friend of mine lost a dear friend suddenly, and she wanted me to make something special for him, and I ran out. I knew I needed some more white roses. I thought, oh gosh. So I thought, I'll jump in the car. I'll go to Wegmans. I hope they'll have them because maybe their flowers came in. So I run out there fast. I jump out of my car, and it's a Toyota. I got a different car this past year. Finally got something.
I know. I didn't see the minivan this year.
Now I know I miss it, but it was a stow and go van, and I didn't realize. A couple of my friends that were looking for cars for me said, do you have your heart set on a stow and go? And I said, well, I really like another one, but, and they said, well, they stopped making them in 1998, I guess. No, not 2018. I said, what? So, yeah. So he said, oh, I was afraid you probably were hoping you would get one of those. So I said, well, don't think so now. So when I was looking, a friend of mine has a Toyota Highlander, not brand new. I couldn't afford that, but I liked her. So I went up, I was looking at different places, and I went up to Sheehy up in Garrisonville, and I was looking at several different kinds of cars, and the guy goes in to get a pair of keys, and I told him what car I had, and I see across the lot a 2018, last year they made them, same color as mine, and I run over to it,
Said, I want this one.
and the guy comes out, and he's like, and I said, oh my gosh, here's one just like mine. He says, well, I can get the keys. I said, oh, I know how it drives. But I said, if I drive back up with this, they're all going to go, what? And then I tried out this Highlander, and I like it. But you can't lock the keys in it, supposedly. But
They yelled at me when you weren't there.
But my key had dropped into my heavy glove in the console, blocked the signal, so it wouldn't, when I locked the door, I locked it on the door, it didn't respond to the signal, so the car was locked. So then I'm out thinking, what am I going to do now? Because you can only get one set of keys now, unless you pay $600 for another set. Yeah, $600 for those keys like that. So I'm thinking, what do I do? I had a car full of wreaths to take. And I thought, oh. So this man comes along. He says, do you have AAA? I said, yes. He says, oh, call them. They'll come unlock it. I said, they will? He said, oh, yeah. So I called AAA. They said, oh, yeah, we have unlocked, you pay for unlocked service. So I said, well, this is 1:30. She said, well, we should be there by 2:45 or so. And I went, is that as fast as you can get here? And they said, well, we're really busy. The holiday, it was Monday. I went, okay. Oh, all right. So I'll go in and get my shopping done. So I went in and got that and got some other stuff I needed. Go over to where the cafe is. That gentleman over there was so nice to me. His first name was Kabul. He told me he was originally from Afghanistan, was an engineer, and went to work in France. And then I don't know if it's one of his children came over here first. Then he came over here for an engineering job and became a citizen. And he says, I just can't stay home. I got to be busy. And you talk about work. If there wasn't somebody at that counter, he was cleaning. He was constantly working. The nicest man. He said, do you need some water? Do you need... And he said, if you need to go to the restroom, I'll watch your cart. Just couldn't have been nicer. Everybody there, because I thought, they're going to think I'm a squatter, So then I called at 3:15. Well, now it's going to be 4:30. And I said, but someone's coming, right? Someone's going to come. Oh, yeah, they're coming. They got the call. 4:30, nobody came. Called again at like 5 o'clock. Now it's going to be, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something. So by that time, I had too much invested. Somebody could have come got me, but I didn't want to leave the car there with all that stuff in it. So finally at 5:15, I call. Well, I forget what time it was. 6, a little after 6. I call again. I get somebody locally, finally to somebody local, and they say, well, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to put you on hold and see if I can get someone local. I said, okay, see if I can find out something. Well, she did. She came back. She said, it's going to be 7:15.
Oh my God.
I said, okay, but it's been 6 hours almost. Here comes the tow truck. He called me, bless his heart, coming across the canal bridge. He was up above Garrison Fields where he came from. When I told him I had been there since 1:30, he said, what? He said, I'm reporting this, because they work for AAA. He said, this is ridiculous. He said, they could have come to you in between a job picking up something on 95, because they know this is only a 10-minute job, because he was in it with under 10 minutes, and gone back then and gotten somebody else. He said, I know you weren't that far down the line. 6 hours. He was hot. He was so nice. And of course, they sent me a thing for a survey. I was nice. I just said, I said that gentleman was so upset over it. Of course, I gave him a nice tip. He didn't want it. He tried not to take it. I said, no. I said, this isn't your fault. You came when you said you were coming. And I appreciate it so much. And I told him, I said, I've never had that kind of trouble with AAA. And the gentleman there at Wegmans said the same thing. He said, I've never seen them take this long. I said, yes. Well, can you imagine? At least there I had a bathroom, food, if I needed it, and it wasn't so...
Place to get stuck, honestly.
And it wasn't so cold, because she said, well, go inside. I said, ma'am, I've been inside. This is 5 hours? Where do you think I am? Huh?
You worked at Wegmans at that point.
I know. I could have gotten up and done something for him. I felt like it. Well, one lady sat down. Yeah, this lady sat down about 5:30, and she must have been waiting for someone and ripped out her Christmas cards. And I went, darn, I should have gone and bought some Christmas cards and done that while I was sitting here. Killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I mean, she even said, everybody was talking to me. When she left, she said, I hope somebody comes soon for you. Where do you live? I said, right in town. I said, I can get somebody to come. I just don't want to leave my car. And she said, I understand. Everybody was just so nice. By that time, I looked like a fixture. Wilhelmina, that was my big worry. I had left her outside.
Oh.
And I don't like her out in the cold that long. And I called my neighbor. She wasn't home. She said if she got home first, she'd put her in. Because, I don't like, she's getting older, and I don't like that. But
I bet she yelled.
oh, she was waiting for me. Meowing, like, where in the have you been? I said, I couldn't help it.
Did you adopt her, or how did
Yes, she found us when she was Larry Witter thinks she was about 9 months old. She's the one who had kittens, and I found them finally over on George Street under a little shed. and adopted them and got them all fixed and shots and good homes. And Wilhelmina had a happy story. She knew where to come. There you go. Yeah, that was not a dumb cat. She said, "These people look like suckers." Okay, she's a smart cat too. She doesn't go anywhere. Even everybody goes, "She doesn't go out in the street." I said, "Nope, she doesn't."
Do you want the bag moved?
Did you see my knife? It's in all this mess. It always gets lost.
The scissors.
It could be on the floor.
It is right there,
Oh.
in front of your foot.
There it is, right there. See it?
Yep, thank you.
Do you want me to move this bag?
Yeah, you can move that. If I need some more, I'll pull it out. All this stuff. I'm going to green up this basket. This is like a tin basket. I've lined it with foil just in case, with that poly-lined plant foil that I used. I have some of that, which is it's plastic lined, so it's a nice liner. And I lined it just in case the seams aren't as tight as they should be. I think it's good and tight, but I don't trust it. It's always good to be safe instead of sorry and have water leaking on something in your house. This is some of the Deodora cedar that they have here on the campus, and I love this stuff. And the Deodora cones that look like a rose that pop off of them. And if you can, I'm trying to be fast, but you can clean off a little of the branch at the end and it goes in even easier. Let me see, do you see any more of this? Here's some pine. I've got some. Okay, and some magnolia. I'll just grab up some stuff that I want.
Magnolia?
Yeah, some smaller leaf pieces if you see it. And some
They gave you a lot of magnolia.
pine, yeah.
Oh, here you go. I'll put it right under your feet. Right here, okay?
Yeah.
Do you need anything else?
See if there's any good holly. I'll use some Nandina in this too. And I've got Oasis in it. Holes up if you can, because why? Why do you want the little holes up that are in the Oasis? So the water will absorb faster, yes, and stay in it longer. You can impress people with that knowledge, because even people who supposedly supposed to be knowledgeable don't know it. Now, I do like to do a lot in chicken wire, but you have to have a decent depth in the container. And this I'm going to do really fast, and I put a bowl up in the top of it, and I've got some bricks under it. So it's heavy because it's high, and if you put heavy evergreens, boom, yeah. And then you'll really be mad at yourself. And I don't want to encourage you all to use any bad language. So I try to fix it and stabilize it so you won't have to deal with that. Because you do get mad at yourself when you get it all done, put all that time in it, and then something goes wrong. This is just going to be pretty and natural. That's what I'm going for here with evergreens. I just love evergreens in the house at Christmas. They've got some very good imitations if you can find high quality ones. But I still like a little bit of fresh, even if I use some and I put some fresh over it. And you can do that closer to the holiday. Of course, these have a water source. If you don't have a water source, if you're just laying it somewhere in the house, it's not going to last as long. Just tuck your things in. Did you find? I don't know, here it is down here. Hey, Lindsay, where's Lindsay? Can you get me these green apples? There's 2 artichokes here, and those the apples and the artichokes and those pine cones. Thank you.
The holly's down below.
Okay. Now I'm looking for my picks. These I will pick because they're heavy, and I had to bring these big picks. I couldn't find my small ones. You can imagine my little shed. It was so cold. I could only stay out there so long at a time. So I just got these big hyacinth stakes and said, I'll just use those. They'll be fine. And they're pretty dry. They've got a little more drying to do, but they'll be fine. The artichoke, the pomegranates and the artichokes. Okay. This is going to be more natural. I like the natural look as well as the glitzy look. I try to avoid glitz that sheds because y'all probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Even wrapping paper and stuff, I don't want it because it gets everywhere. I have it all over me. It sticks to my skin. I go everywhere I'm glittering because it's so hard to get off. That real fine stuff is the worst because it really clings. And I had a friend who's a good customer, and they did a New Year's Eve party one year, and she wanted all that glitzy stuff. And I thought, okay, but I think you're going to regret it. And of course she said, don't ever let me do that again. She said, oh my gosh. I said, I told you, getting it out of carpet, getting it out, it just clings like crazy. And there's some that's not as bad, but that little stuff, whew, I can't stand it. I'm just tucking a little bit of boxwood in here and there. You can feel your oasis. You may not be able to see it, but I'll turn it around in a minute and then I can see this side. And then I found these yesterday. They're not too big. And I wanted it really bright green because it shows up so pretty with the red. And of course, I'm picking out fruit. People say, oh, this one looks like it would taste really good. And I go, oh, well, I'm not eating it. And they kind of look at me like, it's got to look good. I don't care what it tastes like. I'll just turn it around so you can see a little bit. This is so easy to do. I know I've done a million, so it's easy for me. But once you get it, if you've got all of your materials together, that's part of the battle. Get everything lined up and ready to go. And so, but it does not take that long to do this. And you'll be so proud of yourself. And I've got this other artichoke. I bought them, I don't know when I bought them, but I figured I'd use them for something. So I just left them on a tray in the kitchen. These artichokes are probably about 3 weeks. And I think these may be 3 or 4 weeks. I don't remember. But if you're... No, just my house. Yeah. But I don't really, if I thought about it, I could have done that. But if you get them early enough, it's been at least a month. It might have been 6 weeks or so since I bought them. probably right around Thanksgiving or so, before Thanksgiving, so it hadn't been that long. But if you just, I find for this kind of arrangement, I didn't want that completely dry like a dehydrator, because I want more color in it. And it's enough that it wouldn't, smell and it's dry enough, it's not going to do that. I'm mixing some of this holly.
Need more, or is that enough?
I don't know, this is really pretty. See if you get me one more piece. I'm going to turn this and then I'll add the pine cones. And then I'm going on to something else. To me, this is Christmas, this, as well as the glitz. But I like.
Nice is right there. I was telling my wife it doesn't feel like Christmas until we have Deck the Halls.
No. Well, now it's become such a habit almost after 40 years. Okay, now I'm just going to take a few pine cones and throw in there. Okay. Now I'm just tucking these deep, and they're tight. They're not going to fall out unless you do a dance, and I don't think that's going to happen because it's heavy. And if you're just, when I was in delivering things, then we had to do that, but because they're shaking up on a truck, and I had good people that I threatened with their life, but and then John, who understood that, you don't want this stuff falling apart, and then he threatened them with their life. But he was, people laugh when I tell them what he really did. Somebody said one time, and I said, oh no, he's retired from Dahlgren. He's a physicist, mathematician or whatever. He did the calculations for the missiles off the nuclear subs. That was his real job. This is mindless compared to that. We're totally different. Yeah. But he was picky, like me, and he understood why we had to be picky. And I'm sure some of them were like, oh, because I was picky. Because I thought, Lord, I stood here, all this time on my feet and legs making this stuff. You all better not tear it up. Just like, I didn't allow any smoking in the building, in the yard, or in the vehicles, period. And you couldn't fool me either, because I can smell smoke. And I said, who wants to get an arrangement at their house reeking of cigarette smoke? This stuff costs a lot of money, takes a lot of time to make, and you're not allowed to. And if you try, I will know it. Of course, a few tried, but that ended quick. Okay. Pardon?
A lot of holly.
I know, isn't that pretty? Now I brought this dried hydrangea. People say, how'd you dry it? Well, I picked it off the bush, put it in a bucket, threw it, when the rain came, threw it in my shed, and that's where it's been. And you can spray it. I'm just tucking some little pieces of this natural. If you spray it, it holds up really well too. But I didn't want gold in this. I just want natural. Maybe it's not too windy out there today. I think I'll put a little glue on it, just so it won't, in case it is a little wind, it could take off because it's lightweight. Be flying away from you. I gotta get another stick. And I'm fast with this, but you be careful because it will burn you. This one doesn't seem to be as bad when it drips as hot, but it sticks really well. Although I've had some burns. I mean, one time I got a burn, oh God, it was so bad. and the Ullmans are good friends of mine, so I run down there, because Jerry used to be on the rescue squad, and they have this special salve they use, and I knew he had some. I said, quick, Jerry, he's at the jeweler's bench. I need some of that salve. And so he opens up the drawer with one hand, throws the salve at me, never stops. He goes, how'd you do it? I said, how do you think I did it? The glue gun. No, this is, Limelight. It just dried that color. Depends on how the sun hits it. And if you go up to New England, they all turn that pink because it gets cool nights early. When I go up to the Adirondacks, I went up there in August. And on my drive up, it was August 23rd, I knew, and they were beautiful. And sometimes I stop. My first trip to Maine, I was on a tour of the bunch from Belmont, and Russ, who was the tour person from Georgia, who took us on the trip, a wonderful guy, and we stayed at this little hotel in Pemaquid Point, and he said, now this is a little more primitive than where we stayed yesterday. So when we got there, I said, oh, it's shabby chic. He said, oh, we're safe. Jan says it's shabby chic. And they had the old-fashioned PG hydrangeas all over the place, and they were turning that gorgeous pink. So I asked the lady in there, I said, could I pick some of those? She said, honey, you take them all, because we closed down, And she said, they'll just, dry up and die, and, nobody here. They were like, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, what do you mean? There's so many things you can do with them. So the next morning, he went out we had vans. I had them stuffed all under the seats of the van. And he goes, where did you get these? I said, they said I could have them.
Have you ever gotten in trouble for cutting something somewhere?
No.
No.
I usually, if there's anybody around, I'll ask them. I say, I'm working on a project. You want that stuff? And I said, oh, yeah. And then I'm telling them how to use it. They look at me like, she's crazy. But sure, you're welcome to it. It's going to lay out there and die, usually what they tell me. It'll be more next year. And I said, oh, I'm thrilled. They probably, just think, oh, well, she looks harmless. She's a... Okay, here you go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, it's heavy because of all the fruit. Now, whoever wins that, just sit it somewhere. You could even sit it on a porch. Don't do it in the house on furniture. Don't ever water it on furniture. And just give it a little water down in the middle, a little cup of water once in a while, and it should do fine. This, I think I can do fast. I'm going to try fast. Lindsay, can you come up here and I'll give you a job? Where's my scissors? Where's my
I love jobs.
clippers? You see my other clippers?
Those ones?
No, here they are. Cut some of these leaves off for me, like smaller ones.
Okay.
Well, that one's not too pretty, but
Where do you want me? Over
you
here?
just put it piled up right here for me, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. This is an Oasis wreath frame that I'm putting on this plate, and this is a little flower holder. It's little bubbles, as you can see, little clear bubbles. I'm going to give you a box, empty up one of these boxes to give you to carry it in, because I don't want you to break it before you get it home. I was using my head, thinking about some of this stuff being harder to transport. I don't want you to break it or... Okay.
Are those you said?
Mm-hmm.
If y'all need to pull up to grab it too, there's a loop right across the street from the main entrance, and you can pull up and we can wait for you guys to grab it real quick.
Instead of having to try carry it, all the way. I'm just angling these in, the Oasis frame, which we used to sell these too, but, I know, it's just, I don't understand. It's not like it's something rare. They can get it from their wholesaler and, sell it. What difference is you're selling that or selling something else? no difference. I don't know. Some of the, I don't know if these flower supply places like Hobby Lobby, if they have them or not. You know, some things they have, sometimes they don't have. You know, they're limited on materials for making stuff. Now I need boxwood. You know, yeah, get me some hunks of that and I'll put some of this in it. They just don't have, and the florist obviously, I don't know whether they don't use it, they don't want to sell it. I don't get it. I mean, you can sell it, make a little, don't make a huge profit, but you make some. What's the difference in selling that and selling anything else you're selling? You know? Plus, you don't have to do a thing to this, just get it and put it on the shelf. So, I don't know. And we used to have, years ago, now I'm really dating myself, but some of us remember, Roxbury Mills. We had a lady that that owned it before it was the nursery. What was her name? Joan, do you remember? That owned Roxbury, you know, she was a wonderful craftsperson. I loved her. I can see her. She had gray hair. She wore it up. She was very kind. And she sold all this kind of stuff. And she did all kinds of craft type things there on the inside. And then later it went to being the nursery. And, you know, they didn't really sell any flower crafts, but I just can't think of her name. We were just talking about it a couple weeks ago, and it came up. I said, oh, yeah, she was one of my friends. Because if I couldn't find it, I'd go to her and get it, or if she'd know. And she'd get stuff for me if I had trouble getting in a craft supply.
Do you like Merrifield Garden Center?
Yeah, I don't get there very often, but that's the trouble. But I don't know if they sell a lot of this stuff anymore. Do you? Have you seen
Yeah, they've sold some.
the supplies?
Yeah, I really like their
They know what they're doing. That's for sure, garden-wise.
I like the one near Fairfax.
That's the other thing, it's not created equal. Some really know gardening and some don't. You know, that's why, you know, I tell people, be careful at Lowe's and Home Depot, you know, because I was in there one day and this man was buying a hybrid lily plant. It was in full bloom. He was an older gentleman, and he said, will this bloom again this summer? Oh, yes. I said, oh, no. I said, that's doing its thing for the year. I mean, he's going to take it home. It doesn't bloom, so he thinks he's done something wrong. You know, just like when they tell him a perennial, annual is a perennial. You know, and a perennial comes back every year, and an annual doesn't. So when it doesn't come back, they think they've done something wrong. Well, they didn't do anything wrong. They just had the wrong plant. And I'm like, oh, people. And then they get discouraged, and then they won't do anything else. And I want people to want to have success, so they want to do it. Have a pretty yard. Or they sell plants that aren't going to grow here, which is getting very challenging because there are droughts. You know, and heat. You know, hot, humid weather. Delphiniums don't like it. Foxgloves don't like it. You know, things that I love don't like it. Lupines, forget it. You know, they can't tolerate it. And I've seen people say, oh yeah, that'll live here. Not very well. I mean, over in Maine and places like that, they seed themselves. They're so happy. You don't get that happening. I'm just putting in boxwood around this. And the same thing, you could give this a little water. Do you see that bucket of flowers there, Lindsay? Can you move it over here, that bucket of flowers on your feet, to your side?
Oh, they're so pretty again.
I know. A little bit more. I'm almost done with this, and I'm going to put some cedar in it. And no, I think I'll put that ivy. I brought some ivy. Pardon? Yeah, it does. Considering how dry it was, because I know they can't irrigate all this stuff up here. You can tell the difference. Where was I? And I saw something, and I knew they had an irrigation system, and that's why it looked the way it did. Because the end of the summer was pretty tough. And I water, and I hand water, and I try to give them a lot of water, but you can't give them enough water when it gets like that. I mean, you keep them alive, but they're not thriving. My beautyberry, I could tell, it was pretty, but it would have been prettier if we'd had some more rain. Even some of my trees, I could tell they were starting to stress. I have one of those little, it's called Quick Fire acers, which is a maple, and I love it. It's a dwarf variety, and it's usually gorgeous. And I watered it, but I mean, it's living. It didn't die or anything, but it wasn't as pretty this fall. And that's when natives pay off, because they can adapt better to things that aren't native. Almost done. I fill this in with a little bit of cedar. And then here's my knife. I'm going to take this.
Jan?
Yeah, I'm rough.
Too close, I'm sorry.
And what I do with, what I would do with this is put candles in the middle. Or if I had some pretty piece of, I have a Waterford Angel I almost brought, but then I thought, nah, if all my throwing stuff around, it could get broken. And I have a beautiful Valancourt Father Christmas, but I thought he looked beautiful in there, but I don't want him to get broken.
Do you have a favorite Christmas memory?
Yes, a lot of them. But
What about one with your dad?
oh yeah, lots of them. I remember one year, and some of you probably were here, I brought my Huckleberry Hound dog. That I brought. It was the year we were at GW. It was a stuffed Huckleberry Hound. And I told the story first, and then I whipped him out. I was 11 years old, and still trying to believe in Santa. I'm just one of those kids. I'm not giving up. And I heard my mother the night before and Father talking, and I thought I heard my mother crying. And my father's going, "What's wrong, honey?" And she said, because my bedroom was the closest to the living room, and she said, "Well, people ordered a lot of stuff back then." She ordered from Spiegel catalog. I'd pick out stuff in there, as kids would, and then she'd look at the book. She'd ordered me a Huckleberry. No, was it a Huckleberry? I think it was a Huckleberry, and it hadn't come. And a couple other things hadn't come. Everybody else, everything was there, but it was just a few days before Christmas. He says, "Well, I'll go over to the, we lived on the base, even though we were civilians, but we had privileges. And I'll take her with me and go into Toyland. Don't worry, And so the next day he said, "Daddy's got to go." He came home from work. He said, "I got to go over to," it was just maybe 4 or 5 days from Christmas, to the store. "Do you want to go with me to the commissary or where we were going?" And I said, "Okay, Daddy." He knew I'd take him up on it. So we went over. Pat needs a little more water. And we went he said, "Let's go in Toyland first." Yeah, right. Your father wants to go to Toyland first. So I said, "Okay, Daddy." So we go in there. I'm just looking around. He says, "Do you see anything you like?" And I said, "Well," and even as a kid, I wasn't dumb. I wasn't out of tune, I guess, with cost. And I thought, so I picked out this, well, remember those kits when you could make an octopus? Had a ball for the head, and then you braided the tendrils. I picked out one of those in pink. And then I picked out, I forget what I picked out next. A a little knitting Nancy thing, which I already probably had 10 of them, and because I didn't want to pick out something expensive. So then I saw Huckleberry, and Daddy said, "Don't you like Huckleberry Hound?" I said, "Oh yeah, Daddy," stuffed Huckleberry Hound. And so then we went on over to the commissary. Well, Christmas morning there was Huckleberry. I have Huckleberry. I've kept him all these years, and I never told them for years that I hurt him. And then yesterday I was searching for something, and when I was 5, I got a Campbell's Soup cooking kit. And they were little cans of soup. They used to have some cute toys. And they weren't nothing plastic. This little pan was a little metal pan. I had it for years, and somehow it got lost. It had a little pot holder in it, a little plaid pot holder. And I had a chef's hat and a Campbell's apron, and all these little cans of soup. I have the pot holder. I knew I had it. I just had to find it. And I kept it it was in a drawer with some other things that I've, keepsakes. But I've got that pot holder. I don't know what happened to the pan. I had it forever, and I can't figure out where it went. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to do that thing over there last, but I'm going to do that one-sided one real quick. I can do that quick. I'm almost done. Okay. Yeah, and I have decorations. So I was at the cathedral. I had to wait to finish an altar I was working on because they had a service in that chapel. So I said, well, I'll just go to the gift shop, see if I can do any Christmas shopping while I'm killing time here. Make everything count. And I was telling the guy in the gift shop, I guess I was maybe 15, a trip from school, and I was at the cathedral and in the gift shop, and I bought my mother a Christmas ornament. It was a glass ball with a little gold tree in it. It was made in Germany. It had a little filigree on top. Because I was a big babysitter, and I would wash windows and weed yards, so I saved my money. And I'd taken my money up there with me, and I bought her that ornament. I had the ornament. So it's an antique now. And I have these wax. I bought a wax angel. Her head is wax and her hands, and her cape and everything's gorgeous. That was from Germany. The first year I went to work for Mr. Ross, he had some of that German, and I loved it. Oh my gosh, I knew what it was because I babysat for all these German scientists and doctors at Dahlgren, and they all had those gorgeous German ornaments. Well, I liked them, so I wanted some. So I bought the angel, and I still have her. Keep her in a safe place because I don't want it to get hot. And wax balls, and a lot of glass, of course, because they had gorgeous glass. And through the years, when Mr. Ross had the china shop, the Haviland salesman gave me a gorgeous Haviland ornament one year, and I've got it. And then I got some of the Carta Pesta. Oh, I don't even know. In the Metropolitan Museum of Art has that gorgeous creche that they put out every year, and the White House has one that the Mellons gave them. There's a little town in Italy, I'm probably saying it wrong, called Cartapesto, I think. And they make these figures. They even make them life-size, and it takes quite a lot of work. And they're pan-painted angels, and there's a church in Lynchburg that people each would buy an angel in memory of somebody in their family and have a whole tree covered with them. And these angels, I have a few of them, are about this size is about this big, a tree ornament. And no, they have a structure that they make, and then they use draped fabrics, and then they hand paint it. It's beautiful. I think the small angels now are $100 and some a piece at least. And I have a bigger angel that carries a banner. I forget what I paid for her, but they make life-size figures. I mean, it's incredible. But in Europe, the decorating is really important. The food, the music, the church service, and the decorating. The gifts aren't a biggest deal. They give maybe cute gifts or things like that. But concentrate on all the probably what we should be concentrating on, you know, and it's beautiful. But they put a lot of store into craftsmanship, you know, and they had a showroom that was carrying them in Atlanta, and I was walking down the hall, and I spotted them, and I knew what it was as soon as I saw him. The person with me said, "What is it?" I said, I didn't think I'd ever see this here. Does anybody remember the year I sold the little Lionel train going around the little tree, and it played piano music, and it was an original, well, it was an authentic copy or original of the miniature Zephyr that Lionel made. I didn't realize that part. They might have told me, but I was going down the hall in Atlanta, and I heard that piano music. Reminded me of my sister and myself playing the piano. We were kids, and I thought it was Christmas carols, and I thought, where is that coming from? And I saw the Lionel place, and I realized it was there. So I went in, and the man said, yes, this is an anniversary year, and they brought this out. It's about this tall, and it has lights on it that light up the little tree, and then the base, and then the train is going around the tree, the little Zephyr. Well, I bought some of them. It was a hit. I forget how many I bought. I had to reorder twice. Ladies would come in there. Well, if their husband was with them, it was gone. As soon as they saw it, and this man goes, "Oh, this is a real little Zephyr. You know, Mama, you know, this is a collector's item." I said, "Yeah, they told me it was a collector's item," and he was telling me all about it. Then my nephews saw it. They all wanted it, so I ended up having to buy a bunch of them for these kids. They all wanted one. I couldn't give one to one and not the other. So, and I have mine. I love it. And so you could put anything in this. You could put ribbon. You could put balls. You could put greenery. You can do anything you want with it. I'm just tucking this ivy in. And I'm going to use one of my fern pins. Can you put this right up here for me, honey? Thank you. My greening pins to hold it real quick. And then put it right there. Then you see that wreath in that box. Can you take it out of that box for me, please? I don't know how it's in there. You might need some clippers. I've got clippers down here. Here you go. Oh, wire cutters. You're welcome. And I had it the other day. I'm going to put it out. I love it. I told my sister, I said, "Get yours out." And my niece Sarah, I got one for her husband Jeff. They weren't married then, but they were sweethearts since they were in 9th grade, I think. I said, "Get your train out for the kids." And I've got one nephew who is like I am. He loves old stuff, antiques and sentimental. And so David, I know, has got his out. He's big into Christmas. He loves it. I guess he's got it. I don't know. He travels for the government. He's in cybersecurity. So he's always, I think he's heading to California next week. I don't know where he was. I think it was Alabama or somewhere this week. He'll call me and I'll say, "Where are you, honey?" And you could this morning going out the door, I grabbed this up and spray the gold on it real quick because paint doesn't like the cold. So the paint was inside, so I just grabbed this and sprayed it real quick. And I have a little bit of ribbon somewhere. I've got such a mess. At the end of the day, it's been so cold, I a lot of times work in the garage, the Cohen's garage, but me moved out of it when I went back into my house at Christmas last year, Christmas Eve. It's thin. Do you see it? Not this one. No, it was a thin one. Do you see a thin one? Oh, under this wreath? There it is, yeah. Thank you. And this is what I'm going to do. Now, there isn't anybody in this room who cannot do this. Everybody goes, but I know you can do it. My niece, my oldest niece, who helped me a lot of times when she was in college, she said, "Auntie, I just can't believe how often I use some of those things, making bows and grabbing up something and making something out of it, because I saw you do it. And I'll be spending Christmas with her and her family, because the children are always waiting for Auntie Claus to get there. I couldn't go last year because of my leg. And my little great niece got really ill at Easter and scared us to death. But she's doing great now, thank God. And thank goodness for UNC Children's Hospital. She had a virus attack her kidneys. And they...
From the lake?
Pardon?
From the lake?
No. They don't know what it came from. They don't know what they come from. Obviously, it could have been another virus that somebody had, like a cold, and it just went to her kidneys. And at first they thought she had first they thought she had IgA, vasculitis, which is a chronic condition, and it attacks the kidneys and can destroy them fast. So I called a friend of mine whose husband just retired as a urologist, and I was telling her, and he was in the kitchen. He said, "What?" And he said, "You tell Jan, tell them don't leave that hospital. Her kidneys can go so quick." And I was like, oh, but thank goodness they did one of those plasma transfers on her. And they were doing a type of chemo on her. And they finally got the creatinine levels down. And they think, we're just praying, she's been in remission now since June. If they can keep her that way for 2 years, they killed that virus. But we're just so thankful she had symptoms. Her legs were hurting. They were on a field trip to Washington. She's real tall for her age because her parents are both tall. And she told her mom, she was with them because she was their guidance director. And when they got back to Raleigh the next night, her father had to get on the bus and carry her off. So they took her to a medical wake, one of those emergency wake medical centers. And they thought maybe it was, due to all the walking and leg cramps because of her height and everything. So they gave her something for it, went home. She felt a little better. And Monday morning, her mother called her pediatrician and took her in because she had open heart when she was 8. So they were, really concerned. And it didn't have anything to do with that. But anyway, then the next day they transferred to UNC Children's, and they were on it. And let me tell you, I guess I'd been by part of that hospital before, but makes ours look like the parking lot's bigger. I mean, they just, when you got something crazy like that, you got to go to a teaching hospital. And they were on it, and they said if she stays in remission for 2 years, they think they got it. And I'm going to give you, whoever gets this, don't grab it up. We're going to get something for you to get it into, because I don't want you trying to get it home. And that I've got that secured on it, but I'll fix it over there. Just take it over there and I'll fix it. I don't want you to try to get it without something. Now I'm going to do this really quickly. And I'm going to show Lindsay, she doesn't know this yet, what to do here. This is the wreath that I bought for $9.95. And Miss Lindsay is going to any kind of green wreath you can get. This will work. You need smaller pieces, but this will work. That fir will work too, and boxwood will work. You can mix different kinds and just shove it tightly into those twigs. You can feel it.
Okay.
Get your good end on it. Now you want to angle it.
Okay.
You want to angle it down, and it'll hold pretty well. That's kind of thick too, but even this will work. No, that's not a pretty piece. I don't like that. This piece is pretty. Let me show you too. You can just use different kinds in it, in between the. You're going to bring this thing alive.
Feels like it. I've watched you enough years at this point.
Yes, that was dead, and looked so But for $9.95, I said, I know I can do something with that. And you'd be surprised sometimes what you can find
Free Jan Williams class.
if you really look. And you go out early. This was probably there in October. You can't find it now because I was the only one that liked $9.95. What can you buy for $9.95? You can hardly go to Starbucks. I mean, coffee. Can you imagine what people would think?
A ticket to the museum.
Yeah, true. You know, how much a cup of coffee? Oh, I don't drink coffee, but never have. Everybody goes, you never drink coffee? How do you stay up all the time? I said, well,
God gave you enough.
yeah. Tea, I like hot tea, but I drink a lot of herbal tea.
Are we doing Magnolia too?
No, I'm just doing this on this one. You keep going over there. We'll show them what you can do, girl.
My dad's a landscaper, actually.
Really? You should be using clippers on this, but I've got them buried in here, so my hands, even though they're decrepit, they're strong. That's why they're decrepit. That's what I'm sure that's what my doctor would say. Anyway, my little niece, she was supposed to be coming up to spend a few days with me because she was in a year-round school, track out, they call it, when they get breaks. And she was named for my mother, Grace. And she couldn't come because she got so sick. So finally in June, when they said, they thought they had her in a remission, the first thing she said was, can I go see Auntie and Wilhelmina? Because she loves Wilhelmina. So my niece said yes, and so her mom and dad came too, and they stayed at my sister's, my niece's mother's, and she stayed with myself and Wilhelmina, because the attraction was really Wilhelmina. Well, she likes me too, but she loves Wilhelmina. And that night, we were watching this show on BritBox about the Battersea Dog and Cat Home in London. Has anybody ever seen it? It's wonderful. And this British comedian, his first name was Paul. He's passed away now, but nicest, sweetest man. He was on there with him, and he's so funny. And so she loved that. That was so cute. She's laughing. And so up comes Wilhelmina. And I didn't want to try to make Wilhelmina do it because, cats, you can't make them. It has to be their idea. But here she comes. So she got up on the bed. I put her in my bed, and I slept downstairs. And, she loved it. Well, then when I went downstairs, Wilhelmina came downstairs. And I thought, oh, well, she only stayed a little bit, and she went back upstairs. And Grace woke up, and she was right by her, sleeping. She was so tickled. I know, she was thrilled. Wilhelmina. I said, Wilhelmina, thank you for performing. And, of course, my sister was a little jealous because she wanted to stay with me. I said, it's the cat. Don't you get it? I mean, she loves me, but she wants to be with Wilhelmina. And you don't have a cat. Sorry. Yeah. She has a dog, and it's a sweet dog. She's a cross between an Australian Shepherd and a poodle. They're called what are they called? Aussie something, poos or something. We didn't know that. They got her at the pound. And I kept saying, golly, she never sheds. And her fur's a little curly, but she's got one eye is blue at the top, brown at the bottom. The other eye is brown at the bottom, blue at the top. Well, it's the strangest look, but she's so sweet. She's a very gentle dog. And I said, I think, so we started looking it up. The daggone, her color is called Merrill. And the puppies start at $10,000. Well, her husband wasn't home. So when he came home, we said, Steve, we've got great news. Izzy is a $10,000 dog. And he said, well, that's not anything new. He said, she had heartworms when we adopted her, so we had to pay for the heartworm. And we said, no, she's an Aussie doodle. Yeah, he was laughing. He said, yeah, she's worth $10,000 all right. But she's not aggressive at all. I've never seen her be aggressive at all. So I think she would be okay with a cat. But, the cat is the thing. It couldn't be an older cat because they usually don't take the dogs when they're older if they've not been around one. So we're thinking about, she wants she thinks she wants a black and white one, so I don't know. But and then my nephew David, his little girl has a couple of those. Joe might know what they're called. They look like rag dolls or something. Yes, she's got 2 of those, and they're adorable.
If y'all like birds, if you go to Wild Bird Unlimited, they have the ragdoll.
The cat,
Yeah,
oh, in the store.
In a
It,
bird seed store, yeah. They have
Oh.
3 actually. He's huge.
oh, and Maine Coons, of course, they're big and smart. I saw something yesterday on the internet, and I get this kick out of it. There's a lot of guys with cats, a lot. And this one lady said, my husband didn't want a cat. I just want to show you some pictures. The cat and her husband are inseparable. He takes it everywhere. He has a little wagon. He has a little carrier that fits on the wagon. He rides around the neighborhood. He's got a special thing for the cat on the bike. In the car, they go everywhere together. You know, and I said, well, it's so fun. That is funny because my father, we were all animal nuts, and I remember my mother saying when they first got married, he wasn't sure. He loved dogs, but he never had a cat. And my mother, his aunt gave my mother a part white Persian, and she named her Snowball. Well, she was everybody's cat, but Daddy, of course, was very fond of her. Then we got a mixed black Persian when she died. Daddy named him Midnight, and we would travel back and forth to Gloucester, where we were from, Gloucester, Virginia, every weekend because my father was an only child, and he promised his mother when he got transferred to Dahlgren from Yorktown that she was crying so, carrying on. Of course, my mother was probably rolling her eyes. That we would come home every weekend to Gloucester. And my mother said, she was sitting there thinking, are you nuts? With 4 kids and stuff going on, you're promising your mother that? Well, every Friday, we loaded up and headed out. And the cat would sit on the front seat. That's before you had all the carriers and everything. Even we were loose. Those days in the car, we weren't that little, but anyway, he would lay right by my father, right against his leg. That was where he'd always lay. So Daddy said he's my boy because he had 4 girls. Then we named the St. Bernard after him, my first St. Bernard after my father. And my mother said, this is pitiful. My father came home and he said, have you picked a name? And I said, yes, Daddy, we're going to call him Sir Hamilton. And my father got this big grin on his face. My mother said, he's so pleased he finally has a namesake. Yeah, 4 girls and a wife. And the patience of Job. And that's the truth. He did have the patience of Job. You're doing great. I want to hold this up and let you see what you can do with nothing. Put a little bit more greens right there.
Put some here.
Yeah, put a little bit of greens there. I'm going to make something real simple to go on it. Somebody's going to take it home. I'll get a pipe cleaner tie on it too when we're...
If I can do it, you can do it.
See? You're right, Lindsay. You tell them.
I majored in historic preservation.
This is kind of historic.
Yeah, it is.
The history of wreaths. Okay. And then I'm going to put this, don't want it too big because the wreath's not that big, but it's pretty. I mean, you can put it anywhere you want to put it, but it doesn't look so tacky. I don't think anybody call it tacky now.
Hope not.
No. Just don't tell anybody it started out at $9.95. Now I got to find my scissors. I'll cut a little streamer on it, and we'll. If I get it out here, I don't know what I've gotten on me. I hope it doesn't stain. I'll go dry cleaners. Okay, see, I didn't make a real big bow because I don't want to overpower it. That's the thing. You don't want the bow too big for what you're doing or too small. Because immediately you're going to know something's wrong. You may not know what, but your eye tells you because it's out of balance. She's doing a great job. I'm going to put it to the side here, and we'll put the hanger so just the little bow hangs on the side. This turned out really pretty. Now, there ain't anybody who would thought this was a $9.95 wreath.
Well, you're just making me feel
Huh?
official.
Well, you are.
Well, thank you.
And then we'll get a pink pipe cleaner for a hanger, because you never want to not have a hanger. You could hang this on something, but if you're hanging it where there's any breeze or anything, you don't want it to blow off. And if you don't have a hanger on it sometimes, and you just hang it on a hook, the wind comes up and your wreath heads somewhere else. Of course, I wire mine down pretty good on my door for other reasons, so it doesn't walk. See if you can work that through, and then I'll keep this going. Where's my big stuff I had for it? Let's see. Do you see my big? Here, these. I'm going to use some of these. Here they are.
And then you have some of the stars.
Yes. I sprayed these yesterday. These dried hydrangeas.
12:11, so we're still good.
Okay. I'm just going to. Pardon? I know. Who knows what else is going to be gold? I noticed on my key fob on my car there's some gold paint. I know. When I get a closer look tomorrow, I might. Wilhelmina tries to get out of the way. I'm going to make one of these for each side of that, so no matter where you put it. You have a little cough. Get your now Costco carries Manuka honey hot cough drops. Great. It's the only kind I buy. Of course, I take Manuka honey every day too. That's the other thing that's great. And I saw a yellow golden retriever in there with its owner, and they were giving out samples, and they gave one to the dog. And that dog just lapped it right up, and the lady says, I give them to my Goldens every day. They've never had a skin problem. Manuka honey from New Zealand. It comes from a certain kind of clover. I take it all the time. I don't see any wood here, got the dreaded disease going around. I got all the shots, but I didn't get it because I took it every day. And I sent some to my nephew who had to fly all during that. And it's the Sambuca elderberry vitamins. And my niece, he went to the doctor, and my niece was with him. She said, I'm so worried because he has to travel before they had the shots. And the doctor says, well, get elderberry vitamins and Manuka honey. And my niece said, what? She said, my auntie just sent those. He said, well, go auntie. He said, they have a lot of the properties in them will give him, strengthen his immune system. And for years I had the trouble with my hands, cracking and all that stuff. And one day a friend of mine came in who's a nurse practitioner, and she said, Jan, does that still bother you? I said, well, off and on. And I went to doctors. I went to a doctor here. I won't say who. They kept me on an antibiotic forever. And then I went to a doctor in Richmond, and he took me off of that right away. But I had to go through all this stuff wearing gloves and creams. And she said, Jan, take some Manuka honey. She wrote it down for me, get a jar of it, put a little teaspoon in a little dish, put some water with it, make a little paste, rub it over your hands, put the gloves on. 2 days later, gone. I've never had it again with taking it, with working off the flowers. So I'm a believer because I've got my hands in water and flowers and stuff. Even now, I'm always doing stuff. Yes, Manuka, Manuka, and Costco sells it. and so does Wegmans. But you know, you can get a bigger jar for less at Costco. But it's wonderful. I give it for presents. I mean, it's good for us. Those cough drops I give those too. Because you're getting the honey in you with the cough drop, and I probably have them in my pocket, my purse right now, so I don't go anywhere without them. Okay, honey. See, that's where it gets hard, cutting that. Hold that up, Lindsay. Yeah, your wreath. Just show them. Let me get the bow straightened out. Now, see, you would never know, would you, what that started out as? See?
Do you want to add something here? Oh, this is to hang it.
Yeah, we got to hang that. Yeah. See, I was trying to get it through that wreath so that we could.
I tried. It wasn't.
Okay, I'll check it, fix it. That's all right. I'll put a pick on this, and then we're rolling here, and I'll decorate it. And time goes so fast up here.
I know.
It seems like it's so long, but then it's not. And I have these gold pine cones. You got it? These I did get at Wegmans, right as you walk in. They're the dipped ones. They have them with glitter too, but I didn't want the glitter. So I don't want to get it all over my house. Wilhelmina even had glitter on her. And I was trying to get it off because I don't want her licking it. Because it's sharp. Glitter is sharp. I remember a lady came to work for us one time. It was right at Christmas. And she only made it one day. This was years ago. She got glitter in her eyes. In her eye, yeah. And, you know, it's sharp. You got to get that out. Okay. These are really big sticks on these things. Very supportive, but you got to cut them with clippers. I can't rip those. Let me see where you see it over here. I'm going to put this over here. And then, is there more of this holly? Do you see it? And get me some Nandina berries too, please. Some Nandina. See, I get these before they get too much weather on them, and then just put them in a bucket with a tiny bit of water, and put them somewhere where you don't have to see them, get in your way, and just leave them, and they dry.
Here, I'm just gonna put these right by your feet.
And I have some friends that have a pile of the bushes, and I always say, "Oh, just come get them. We don't care." Because when they clean the yard up, they cut them back anyway, and they just throw them away. And I'm like, oh, can't throw these away. And I have some branches I'll put in it. I'll turn that. Oh, there's a lot of them around. There used to be a bunch of them over there by Maury. Of course, that terrible snowstorm, a couple of them went down. There's still some over there. I'm in the Ladies Memorial Association, and they had me pick out new trees because we lost some trees. We planted a deodar cedar. I think it's been 10 years, but you ought to see it. Whew! It is maybe 12 years now. It's huge now. It takes quite a few years for them to make cones, but and a female. Well, I thought that. Okay, not too close. Yeah. The female on the other. Well, evidently, my friends put one in their little yard, which is my little yard now, and it finally got cones, but it must have been close enough to Maury. Yeah, and so is the one in the cemetery. Is evidently close enough to another one, because I only planted the female, and it's got, cones. And they get those big cones that sit on top of them that look, oh, I love the cone before it sheds. It's so beautiful. And then when it pops that top, it looks like a rose. Yeah, a wooden rose. I have some in the shed right now that I pick up whenever I see them. In England, oh my gosh, at Kew Gardens, they love them. There's huge ones, really old ones, lining the Great Walk, they call it, or the Broad Walk. And they have had these obelisks made, wrought iron obelisk, and on top of them are bronze cones that are modeled after the rose cone. They're gorgeous. If you ever go, do not leave England. If you go to London, just hop on the underground, go out to Richmond, and then one train stop, and you're at Kew Gardens in Kew. And it's, take your breath away. The trees, it's older than this country, Kew Gardens is. And a lot of the trees there are older than this country. And it's magnificent. I go every time I go, see something different there. And Wisley, I mean, the gardens that the RHS has are, a piece of that, Nandina, are all over England. It's usually they start because someone donates their property, and then to the RHS. And Wisley is where they have the dahlia show. Oh, it's unbelievable if you like dahlias. You never saw anything like it in your life. And it's just breathtaking. And what they've done out there, because it's one of the younger ones, but it's just gorgeous. They have all these water features. You can sit with benches and stuff. And the fuchsias are not plants, they're trees. Fuchsias get so big over there because they're so happy. They have so much humidity. And if you ever get to go, if you haven't been, has anybody here been to Highclere Castle? No? Oh my goodness. I hate to tell you. The last time I was there, one of the ladies said, heck, I don't even need to give the tour. She can give it. They have a Christmas, they do a Christmas tour, special Christmas. Anything she's doing that's special, don't miss it. Because when she says special, she means it. I have a dear friend here in Fredericksburg who always said was the greatest entertainer. So I told Lady Carnarvon, I said, I compare you to her. She said, oh, that's a compliment. And I said, well, when I went to the first thing she had was a Roaring Twenties lunch and party. Oh my gosh, they had dancers there dancing the Charleston. I met 3 girls there from Chicago, young girls probably working in business or something. They had dressed up like flappers. They were having the time of their life. They were so happy. There was no stone left unturned. She had everything. Then the next time I went was all about the movies, and she had that merry-go-round there that they had in Downton Abbey at the fair, that old merry-go-round. You could ride it. I mean, we saw this one little family dressed up. You can dress up as a husband and wife, like in the 40s. And they had an old pram, the baby, everybody was dressed. Oh, they were so adorable. They get into it. Yes. And then their butler, I guess, I think his official title is butler. He's from France originally. So nice, and he's in charge of directing all the food stuff. And we were going a couple years ago for another thing she was having, and they do the teas, the box teas. Oh my gosh, the box was gorgeous. Had camellias and all this gorgeous print on it. My niece was just enthralled because she went, and the stuff is delicious, but they're so nice. And she had somebody there about the Egyptian exhibit because her husband's ancestor, Lord Carnarvon, married the daughter of Alfred Rothschild, his only child, the banking baron of England, and Alamina. Did anybody read the book, The Real Duchess or Countess of Downton Abbey? Well, that book was written about her, Alamina Rothschild. And you would think, here she is, she could have had anything in her life she wanted. She was a tiny little thing. And I think it was kind of arranged, but they were a love match. It turned out to be a great love match. Lord Carnarvon. But of course, the money helped keep down, keep Highclere Castle going. But her husband was really interested in Egyptian archaeology and finding the tomb of King Tut. And this famous archaeologist, who I can't remember his name right now, is the one that helped him discover it. Alfred Rothschild bankrolled it because, it cost a lot of money. They went on these expeditions. And he got sick, really sick. They were very close. They were to the outer tomb when her husband got really sick over there because, the dust and the heat coming from England. She went on an early plane, so you know what that was like, to Egypt, to try to keep him from dying. And she nursed him back to health, brought him home. Of course, he went back, and they did find the tomb. So there are some original artifacts there. They have an Egyptian room in the basement. But he donated all of it, of course, to Egypt. And it is fascinating to see and to listen to the story. So she wrote a book with this other gentleman who's an archaeologist about it. And she had a big special tea thing, and she talked and he talked, and it was very nice. But they have all this Christmas celebrations, and of course they do have corporate parties there, and people stay there in the rooms. They do not live there. They have another home in the estate that's a little more modern and up to date. And they have, I think, 4 golden retrievers and a couple spaniels, but they're wonderful people. So I saw when they sent me a message, they were decorating Highclere for Christmas. Here they all come down the stairs, all the people that work for them, and everybody's dancing and carrying on, and Lady Carnarvon's dancing, and Lord Carnarvon. And every Friday, they get lunch. I forget what they get from somewhere there in the little town. The little town is Newberry. And they all have lunch together. And the people that work there love it because they treat them like family. And if you can go, the estate is gorgeous because, of course, the landscaper was Lancelot Capability Brown, who did Blenheim Palace and all these famous places. What, now, 2 centuries ago? I don't remember how many years. And it's gorgeous. And a lot of it they don't show on the TV show because they ask them not to, the greenhouses and things like that. But it's spectacular. If you watch Downton Abbey, you'll love every minute.
You look like Glenda the Good Witch with those.
With these stars.
Blonde and your stars. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I want to go see it. I want to hear that. I know the music's fabulous and wicked. I hadn't had time to see a movie. Okay, we're almost done. Just wanted to. And see this, you shouldn't have, there's a little glitter up in there, but I tried to tuck it up high so it won't get on anything. This you could put anywhere, by your door, it could go outside or inside, it doesn't matter. It won't hurt it if it has a little protection would be nice, but or anywhere you need something. Here, and it is heavy. I'm not going to put that one, I think. Yeah, you want to get it, and I'm going to get another box.
Okay, you ready to pull prizes?
Yes, we've got that box that here. I'm going to start drawing. Not that I think anybody's leaving. This is a good box, too, we can use.
Jan,
Where's?
what, are they allowed to take some of this home today too?
Just tell them to wait till I'm out of here.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay.
All right,
The
so
first one is 639658. Oh my gosh, Irma.
we were just talking about that. Okay, I'm gonna put that there. The next one, this one right here,
The wreath 639643. Oh my goodness.
I love this.
639656. Oh my gosh.
I love y'all's sound effects.
Uh-oh, Oh no. Well, now you've broken your string of bad luck. Okay. Go out and get a lottery ticket too. 639668. Okay.
Get the roses. Oh, someone gets my creation. Okay.
639670.
Oh, but that's my mother-in-law.
Oh, it is all good. She gets your creation.
My wreath.
Aw.
Love you.
639667. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Merry Christmas. Nice to see everybody. I said the best part of this is I get to see all of you here again, so I know you're healthy and able to get here. And let's put it this way. Somebody said, "How are you?" I said, "Great, because I got up this morning." So that's a blessing in itself. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.